and innumerable irregularities and exceptions. So only this makes English one of the most difficult languages to learn. So it's not like the Italians say that English is simple or simpler than Italian. It's actually exactly the opposite. So the language is so irregular that even the very word pronounce is spelled differently from the word pronunciation. You see here, pronounce. The word comes from French, so it's Middle English, something around the 12th century. Pronounce, but the noun, that was a verb. The noun is sostantivo, is not pronunciation, it's pronunciation with a different spelling. You don't have OU, you have UN. I mean, no O, pronunciation. Pronounce, pronunciation.
Pronunciation.
Okay, so even with this, in the very word, pronounce, the verb is different from the noun, pronounce, pronunciation. Okay, this is to tell you that English, I have another few things just to confuse you for your own, for your own sake, per il vostro interesse. So even the simplest and most used word in English, which is the article, the has 3 pronunciations, 3, not 1. So it's the, okay, or the. And it even has a strong form, which is the. So you use the before vowels. Oh. Hello?
Yeah. Sorry.
Yes, I'm sorry, but I cannot speak with you right now. I'm having an English lesson. Look, would you mind calling me like 4 hours from now, please? 4 hours. I'm in an online course, via Zoom, and I can't speak with you. I'm sorry. I'm with my pupils. Please call me in 4 hours time. Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye. So I need to, take the sound off. You see, it's a small world. This madam was calling me from Maryland. If you learn English at an advanced level, you can work with people the world over, and you might stay like myself in the kitchen. You see, I have an office. Paolo knows I have an office in my large villa, but I had to move in my kitchen since my mother died, because I don't have time to go up and down again, before I had my mother sometimes here and the maid. And also I went up and down. Now I don't have anymore my mother. My legs are not as good as they used to be, so I prefer staying in the kitchen. And I have people coming wanting to speak with me or make business with me from the entire planet. So you see, that's why you need to speak and write and learn English very well. Let's go back to the article. So before vowels, you say the. They have bought the apples. The apples. Sometimes you don't even realize this when you speak with a native English speaker. But before consonants, it's the. So I dislike the man. Non mi piace quello. I dislike the man. But I have bought the apples. Or see, did you buy the apple? Or can I? Where's the apple? The apple is there. Where is the man? Oh, the man is there, over there. So the. But then you have a strong form, which is the. You see, what the pronunciation we said so far was, can you see it here? The, you see?
Mm-hmm.
Remember the phonemes? The. That's a schwa, the. Or the, the, e, the. But in the strong form, you have the long e, remember? Like to see, remember? So see, the, When is the strong form the used? When you want to specify that it's one particular person or one particular object and no other person or object. For example, to show that the person or thing referred is famous or important, Sheryl Crow, not the Sheryl Crow. You see, at that time, London was the place to be. So when you want to say the specific thing, not, il posto, but veramente quel posto, quella persona,
Indeed.
for example, if I go to Los Angeles one day and I say, oh, I have an archaeologist who's my friend, and he's called Paolo Montanari. And maybe the other person say, do you know Paolo? You mean the Paolo?
Ah, okay.
Ah, quel Paolo. Non mi dire che tu conosci quel Paolo. Do you mean that you know the Paolo? That Paolo? The Paolo? Or at that time, London was the place to be. Era veramente il posto dove stare. Capito? Quindi ci sono tre pronunce, three pronunciations for even the very simple article. Remember this lesson, let's go ahead, words with difficult or strange pronunciation. I know that last time you thought it was difficult, but this time is much more difficult. But if you learn these things, believe me, then you will start understanding English. If you follow, for example, the BBC or the CNN, you can understand, you start to say, oh yes, that's what, we said over the lesson. I see now, and you start learning these things. These things are very important. Please learn them. So another that we'll get to something simple. Okay, now another word like this, can, the verb can. The verb can is a modal verb, modal. Let's go to the magic blackboard, blackboard, whiteboard. Modal, 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 okay? Modal, see, modal, okay. These type of verbs are not present in Italian. See, English is so complicated because together with the verbs, so when you were at high school, you were told that you had regular and irregular verbs, right?
Yes.
In addition to this, you have phrasal verbs like make up, log in, log out. Those are phrasal verbs. In English, you have millions of them, millions of them. For example, you say, come in, come out. I see where you're coming from. I can see where you're coming from means capisco il tuo ragionamento. So they changed entirely the meaning. Then you have another type of verbs, which are the modal verbs, modal verbs, modal verbs. Modal verbs are verbs that assist other verbs. In a way, like in Italian, you have the verbi ausiliari. I don't want to go into the thick of a grammar lesson. I told you that I was not going to do this, if not at the very, very, very end, if we ever get there, because you need to learn English as it is. If you go through grammar lessons, you will learn English in 1,544 years, maybe, okay? If English will still exist. I doubt it. So can, so, has different forms as well. There's a weak form and a strong form. For example, can I? Okay. Yes, you can. Remember Obama? Yes, you can. Remember? Yes, you can. Okay. It's a strong form because you want to emphasize that you really can. So, can I? Weak form. Yes, you can. Strong form. Now, how do you do the opposite? Well, there are three ways, not one. You say cannot, okay, which is formal. So in a legal letter, you would say, or in a sentence of a judge, the culprit written, il colpevole, cannot speak. Cannot, it will be cannot, like this, cannot, you see, all in one word, cannot. But in a more normal way, you say can't or can't, because there's a different pronunciation.
I would ask you a question about this modal verb. If you would say io potevo, in English is I could. It is right.
Potevo, past.
Potevo.
I could have. I could have. I could have. I could means posso. I could. We'll get this. You know, there's another. See. So
Okay.
if you really want to say potevo, you should say I could have. Because it's a modal verb. You need another verb after the could. You need another verb. Otherwise, if you say I could, it means posso. Okay. It's implicit that I could do it, or I could be myself. I could do it, or I could be happy, I could be unhappy. Could generally needs, it's a modal verb, it needs another verb close by. In this case, these are preset expressions. So you say cannot when it's a legal formula, but in ordinary conversation, you say can't in Northern England or in the United States, remember, while in Southern England and therefore in the received pronunciation, remember received pronunciation, the type, the variant of English spoken by the Queen, by the BBC, okay, received pronunciation, you say I can't. Well, I can't do it. While in Northern England and in the US, they would say can't, or I can't do it. In Texas, they would say, oh, I can't do it. So can't or can't, same word. Then sometimes you can possibly use cannot separately. In this case, it's only part of the construction. It's una frase specifica. Si dice, non solo puoi farlo, ma puoi anche fare questo. So you can not only be in the play, but also choose your part. You cannot only be in the play, non solo puoi stare nella rappresentazione teatrale, ma ti puoi scegliere pure il tuo ruolo. Quindi, ma si usa solo in questo contesto. Normalmente la forma negativa si usa can't or can't nel linguaggio comune o anche nello scritto comune. E se è formale, ma proprio una cosa deve essere molto formale, si dice you cannot do this. Ok, proprio è una cosa forte. Un'altra, qua vi ho lasciato un link, you have a link here about a grammar lesson explaining to you when you use this or that form. Okay, there's a link here. So if you go there, because you know I will send you this file, so you can go there and see when you have to use can't or cannot or cannot, etc., etc. Then going back to your could, even could has a weak form and a strong form. If you speak normally, you use the weak form. I could do it if you'd only stop hassling me. Lo potrei fare se smettessi di importunarmi. I could do it if you would only stop hassling me. So I could do it if you would only stop hassling me. Forma debole. If you want to emphasize the verb, you would say, I said could, not would, you know. Let me say, have you done your homework? Look, I said that I could do it. I didn't say that I would do it, meaning that potevo farlo, ma non ho detto che l'avrei fatto. Sì, in questo caso si usa la forma forte. Quindi, vedete, anche un piccolo verbetto, e questo succede anche per molte altre parole. Finiamo questa parentesi. Let's end with this parenthesis about this variable pronunciation of even small words. Let's go back to more classical more classical explanation. So remember the other day we said infinite and finite. Remember? Infinito, finito have different pronunciation. Remember what I said, you know,
Yes, I remember.
variable pronunciation. So infinite, finite, infinito, finito, infinite, finite. Okay. Other words. So the words coming from Greek, remember, English has this peculiarity. It has words from Latin coming from 4 sources, from the Romans, from the Normans, from the French, and from the Italians. They're respectively early English, the first 2 forms, Middle English, and late English. So 4 sources of Latin words. Then you have Greek words like choir and chaos. You have Danish words. You have Anglo-Saxon words, you know, they're coming from Denmark or so. You have Norwegian words, which are called Norse, N-O-R-S-E, Norse. You have Indian words, Arabic words from the entire world, Yiddish, Jewish words of all kinds. And so, because English, again, takes loan words, parole in prestito, with no problem at all. These words, sometimes you have synonyms of the same word, like in Italian, you say, as mentioned the other time, you say sport acquatici, ma you don't say sport idrici or idrologici, mi pare. As if you say, today we have a program about sport idrologici. Say, what? You say sport acquatici, but you know, speaking of water, it's hydra and water. And modern in Greek, by the way, it's nero, another word. So these words in English, you might have a synonym, a word coming from all these languages, and you could possibly use all of them. They generally have a slightly different nuance, sfumatura, nuance, nuance, in meaning, okay? So, which makes the complexity even higher, because in sometimes use one synonym, some other times use another synonym, depending on the finesse, on the, you know, how articulate you want your speech to be. It's the same thing in Italian. When you want to speak about science, you say una riserva idrica. You don't say riserva acquatica. So slightly different, but in English, there are many more variables only for this. Now, these words are Greek, from a Greek origin. So generally, you know, CH is pronounced ch, like cheese, you know, cheese, cherry, ciliegie, cherry, cheese. But these words are of Greek origin. They're pronounced choir and chaos. Choir, not choir or something, it's choir and chaos. And then remember, well, you know, you have the link. You can go, I'm not going to the link because a matter of time. You can always open the link yourselves and check it out, okay? So then Greenwich, remember, we mentioned Greenwich and Greenwich Mean Time, okay? Remember, Massimo, are you there?
Yes.
So Greenwich, not Greenwich.
Greenwich.
Greenwich,
Greenwich.
because it was a borough. Yeah, that's another word to spell. Borough. It is written this way. Borough. Okay. Borough. See, it's written borough, burog, but it's pronounced borough, not burog or borough or whatever. Borough. Che vuol dire una borgata, un borgo, okay? So of the Vikings, near London, and it's called Greenwich, and it is still called Greenwich. And there you have the famous, the parallel there, Greenwich Mean Time, making us in 1 hour ahead. Is Tara with us? Tara, are you there? I think she is. Tara, maybe she's having breakfast, because in California it is what? It is I think it's something like nine. Hello, Tara.
Well, hello, darling. How are you?
Well, yes. When I see you, I'm always well, Wow, shining beauty.
Oh,
So
thank you.
let me introduce you. So this is Tara, okay, and let's stop sharing, and so that you can see perhaps better.
Okay.
This is my friend Tara Johansson.
Yes.
California, from San Diego in California, beautiful place, and I know beautiful, awful weather. I think I think
It's terrible right now.
I know it's snowing in the mountains of California, isn't it?
Yes, there's a famous song that says it never rains in California. It only pours, and we are having we're having that. We're not used to it.
So it's in California, is big like Italy, more or less. It's a large, their economy, it performs even better than Italy. So only one state, I think it's 8th economy in the world. It has 1/3 of the population of Italy. It's more or less the same size, and more earthquakes than Italy. Terremoti, earthquakes. And it's a kind of bizarre society, according from our European perspective outlook, because you have rich people, poor people, they all live quite close, and people generally will boast, vantare, the zip code, il cap, depending on the cap. In Italian it's cap, remember, CAP, codice avviamento postale. In American English it's zip code, ZIP, Z-E. So I say the British way, Z-I-P, zip. They say Z-I-P, zip, because in American English, remember I told you last time, the letter Zeta in Italian is pronounced Z. They say Z. Well, in British English, we say Z, not Z. So ZIP, what is this? It's an acronym standing for zone, whatever.
Zip code.
Okay,
the area code, the code of the area.
I know, but what does the acronym stand for? What does the Z or Z?
I believe the zone.
However,
I do not know. I can't answer that correctly. I would have to assume that it's zone area code.
No, because you have an I. So ZIP. Of course, P is postal. Something like it. It's like the Italian cap, because in Italian is there's the same thing. It's called CAP, cap. For example, when you come to Rome, your cap will be 00186. So in California, depending on the zip code, people will know if you live in Hollywood or in San Diego, where Tara lives, or maybe you live in a horrible place, in a borough with homeless people, and you have plenty of them. It's in Europe we are not used to this difference of we have rich quarters and poor quarters, but we have very few homeless people and fewer extremely rich people. Actually, we never see them around because they live in fantastic places, and normally they are progressive, and they pretend that they're just like ordinary people. So that's typical here in Italy. And so Tara is a very special person. And Tara, would you mind if I end this little lesson where we're having? Because you remember, I know if you want to have breakfast, I'm ending, or if you want to follow, if you possibly can have a say, we're getting through the English words with difficult pronunciation. Let me go back to share screen. And
Would you like me to chime back in at 10 a.m. my time?
Yes, yeah, perhaps it's best because it would be otherwise boring. You know,
I'm sure it will not be boring. I look very forward and I'm honored to speak to you more, and I will see you soon.
have a
Continue
great
on.
breakfast. You can
Okay.
take your cats and I forgot the names.
And a cup of tea. I will have a cup of tea.
Good, you know.
Maximus Aurelius and Nono.
Oh yes, and I remember it.
Yes.
We'll see you
Okay.
soon.
See you soon. Okay.
Bye. So let's go on here. So Greenwich, then these two words are psychology and psychiatry. Okay, we will have another lesson about the words with silent letters and silent syllables, lettere silenti e sillabe silenti, cioè che non si pronunciano. English is full of them. Actually, most words have, in a way or another, some silent letters. So this is, of course, these are Greek words, and they're psychology and psychiatry, not psychology or psychology, psychology and psychiatry. Okay? Remember, Paolo, the first S is always voiceless, not psychiatry. Psychiatry, snow, slip, slide, smart, not smart. Okay, we mentioned this the other time. Did you understand this? Are we okay?
Quite well.
Can I go on?
Yes.
Another difficult word, maybe new for you, but which is used frequently by all native speakers, both Americans and English, is this word, albeit. Albeit. You see, it's a contraction of the sentence all be it. So it means qualsiasi cosa succede, sostanzialmente. But it means in Italian, it's like in English, the synonym is although. So although today I'm tired, I feel the importance of the lesson. I say, albeit I'm tired, albeit. So in Italian it would be sebbene, tuttavia, sebbene, okay. It's a very frequent word, and it is deceiving, ingannevole, la pronuncia. It's not albeit or albeit, it's albeit, okay. Maybe let's see the pronunciation of this, only this one. Oop, cannot. Okay, there you go.
Albeit.
See?
Albeit.
Albeit. Okay, so simple. Now I have to go back to the file. How do I get back to the file? Why did I do this? How do I go back now to the file? Maybe stop share and then share screen. Okay, I learned my way, you know. There's an English idiom which goes, old dogs don't learn new tricks. It's a famous idiom. I cani vecchi non imparano I nuovi trucchi. All dogs don't learn new tricks. Evidently, I'm not that old, as I learned.
That's funny.
All dogs don't learn new tricks, you know. It's one of the 1,000 expressions, idiomatic expressions or idioms, but it's very frequent, you know, and when you can't understand what to do, you say, well, you know, old dogs don't learn new tricks. So then another difficult word is this one here. Okay, how would you pronounce it, Massimo? Massimo?
Yes.
I mentioned this last time. It was already in the other. How do you pronounce this word? Colonnello in Italian.
Colonel.
Say it.
Colonel. Colonel.
Eleonora? Eleonora? Assente. Eleonora?
Yes, I'm here. I think Colonel.
No, it's written with an L, but unbelievably, you pronounce it with an R. Colonel. Colonel, and you also do not pronounce the O. Let's give a look at this. You know, this is worth doing it. And also the word after, as you're, okay, how do you go there? That down, okay. Pronunciation.
Colonel.
Colonel,
Colonel.
Colonel.
You see, you have an R.
No.
This R in English grammar, but by the way, in British English, you don't even pronounce it. You just how can I say, just begin to pronounce it. So you say colonel, colonel, colonel. You see,
Colonel.
mind you, this. Do you remember this sound? It's the phoneme, suono. Remember of work, word, world, surgery. Remember? And I mentioned that this sound, you can find it with the O like work, the U like surgery, the E like her, or E at the I like girl. So this sound can be anywhere, even O, U, A, whatever. So it's k. The in English, it's called intrusive R, R invadente. But because it's an R, it's just surmise. It's just, you know, that you have just nuance. Colonel, colonel. And then there's a silent O. No O, you see, colonel, colonel. In American English, the intrusive R is there, and it is pronounced. So you say colonel, colonel. Now, the R, maybe I should speak about the R. I did mention last time to bring a sort of pill with you like Valda, remember? And you didn't follow my. You have it?
Yes, of course.
Now, can you put it on the on your tongue? Massimo, do you have a Valda?
Miseria.
Okay,
No.
now try to pronounce. Okay, put it on the back of your tongue there, and don't swallow it, just leave it there and try to pronounce Roma in Italian.
Roma.
Roma. You see?
Roma.
Yes, because the tongue cannot meet the palate. Roma. And that's how the R in English is Roma. It's called approximant, meaning that the tongue never reaches the palate there. You say Rome, not Rome, Rome. Okay. In American English, the R, it's the same letter, the same phoneme, but it's behind the uvula, dietro l'uvula. So it's Rome, 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 Rome. In British English, Rome. You'll get the letter R is the letter pronounced in many different ways around the world. For example, the Portuguese, the French, and the Jews pronounce it in a fricative way. What does fricative mean? A fricative sound is a sound when the air you blow passes in a stricture, like trésor, or Ronaldo. It's not Ronaldo, In Portuguese, it's Ronaldo. So you see the air passes in a stricture, and the same goes for Hebrew. You say Rosh Hashanah, it's New Year's, Capodanno. It non è Rosh Hashanah, it's Rosh Hashanah. So, so the letter has many different ways, many pronunciation. In Italian, your language, it's a rolled R. You say the tongue will meet the palate and will hit it many times. Roma. Roma. In English, it never touches the palate. You say Rome. In American English, the same but backwards. Rome, Rome. Okay, and in Hebrew and other languages, the letter incredibly comes from a Semitic language, a Semitic sound. You see, the Semites, the Phoenicians, were the ones who invented the letter. Now, the letter had this shape initially, you see? It had this shape, you see here? You know, like our shape. Can you see it here? Yes.
Yes.
Now, they called this letter Rosh, like Rosh Hashanah, because Rosh in Semitic languages means head, head. In Arabic, this is Hebrew, and Phoenicians, the language of Hannibal. But for the Arabs, it's Rais, you know, the Rais. He's the Rais of Egypt, you know. So this is the history of letters. And would you believe it, even the Greek alphabet, alpha, beta, gamma, are not Greek letters. I'm sorry to say this because I'm partly Greek, but you know, they come from, those are Semitic language letters. Alpha comes from Aleph, because the letter initially had a shape of a head of an ox. The ox, O-X, is a bue. So they call the letter bue, ox, Aleph. Beta comes from Beth, which means house, because it had the shape of a house with 2 stories, due piani. And gamma, because it had the shape of a camel head, una testa di cammello. So Gimel, Aleph, Beth, Gimel. And the Greeks took these letters. They were analphabets, you know, they did not know how to write and read. They took these letters from the Phoenicians, from the Punics, and there you have alpha, beta, gamma. So they're not Greek letters. Yes, they are Greek letters, but they come from other population. So let's go back to the, in English, you have this incredible invention of the intrusive R. You have this intrusive R in many ways. For example, you might say, sometimes, for example, I saw the match between England and Scotland, because when you say England and Scotland, 2 vowels, it's hard to pronounce. England and Scotland. Sometimes the British English put the intrusive R. I saw the match between England, and Scotland. So you have these letters. Whenever the English like to, remember I told you that English is a euphonic language, euphonic, remember? English wants always to have a good sound, so colonel, too hard. Colonel sounds better. Okay, so there you have. Do you see the screen? What are you watching now? Me or the, stop share. Let me go back again. Another word like this is, remember lieutenant? Did I mention lieutenant?
Yes.
Can you see it?
No, not yet.
How do I do this? Every time I have to share screen and go, where was it now? Where was it? Lieutenant, here it is. Okay, now you should see it, okay? Can you see it? Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, now
Confirm.
in American English, so it's a French, it comes from French, okay? It means the tenant, the one who keeps the place, you know. Luogotenente in Italian, luogotenente, uno che tiene il posto, comanda il posto. Anche in italiano, even in Italian. In American English, it's lieutenant, lieutenant, okay. But in British English, they invent more words. They pronounce it lieutenant, lieutenant. And of course, you don't have the F and the T, but they put it inside. And by the way, American and English bicker, which means bisticcio, no? All the time about what pronunciation is the right one. So the English say, look, it's our word and we call it the way we want. And the American English say, but why do you pronounce the lieutenant if there's no F, no T? Which makes sense after all. So what can I say? But remember, if you go in Britain, you should say lieutenant, not lieutenant. In the Italian TV, you'll always hear, if you watch an American movie, which means 95% of movies, it's lieutenant, okay? So let's go back here, stop share, and let's go back to our file. Okay, so another word like this, but I will just say it, otherwise we will never end here. Another title, you see, Visconte in Italian. Well, in English, both in British English and American English, it's Viscount. Viscount. So there is a silent S, you see? Silent S. Viscount. Viscount, not Viscount or Viscount. Viscount, okay? Another, did you understand this? Viscount, okay? It's like this. There's no rule. Take it as they are. Another word, this is Latuga, okay? Can you see the word?
Lactis.
So it's written the way you can see. And how do you pronounce Eleonora, please? Eleonora? Eleonora, are you dead or alive? Eleonora? Dead. Massimo?
Yes.
How do you pronounce this word, please? It means Latuga, the ones of the salad.
I didn't see the screen.
Can you see it?
No.
Isn't this, Paolo, can you see it?
No, not yet. No.
Oh, let me see why.
Lettuce.
The share screen. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay.
Ah, okay.
It means Latuga, and of course, with it, you make a salad. And of course, the word comes from French, obviously, but it's not pronounced lettuce or whatever. It's in English, both American and British English, it's pronounced lettuce. Lettuce. Don't ask me why. I'm not responsible in the first place. Lettuce. If you say lettuce or lettuce or something, the Americans and the English will laugh at you. So just be sure to say lettuce, okay? A similar word also with all these irregularities, you know, by the millions, I told you, English is the most difficult. One of the most complicated things about English is the pronunciation. One of the many things, first of all, the vocabulary is much richer and larger than Italian and of all the other languages, at least Western languages. And the second thing is the pronunciation, which is impossible. Even for native speakers, sometimes they are dumb, they're confused. So this, can you see this word now? Can you see this word?
Yeah.
Okay. Now this is a verb. It means to measure, and you'll find it everywhere if you in any technical context. Okay, it means misurare, calibrare. So of course you find it everywhere, but it's not pronounced. Okay, I'll just go straight to the pronunciation. You pronounce it gauge. Okay, then when I'll send you the files, please check if you want the pronunciation in the Oxford Dictionary, but believe me, it's pronounced gauge. How? I mean, we have gauged the distance of the table, and it was 2 meters and 10 centimeters. Okay, gauge, or the temperature or pressure gauge. So gauge. A similar word you see down there. Oh, similar. Okay, instead of an A, you have an O. Okay, but the meaning is totally different, and the pronunciation as well. They're just similar words. Okay, you pronounce it gouge. Gouge. It means to break something and create a gap. So, for example, when snow falls, and you want to have a path, you need to gouge the snow, or gouge a wall. You need to break through. So you have to gouge the wall. Okay, gouge. So gauge is to measure, to gouge, to open, to make an opening, but their pronunciation is totally different, however, from the spelling. And remember, the one is gauge and the other one is gouge. Do not confuse them. You will be confused, but remember, one is gauge and the other one is gouge. Okay. Now, another similar, I'm bringing you to something more and more confusing. So cloth is a panno, okay, a weaved material, like, un panno, un straccio, okay, cloth. It's the cloth is what the material you make your clothes. You see, clothes. So there's a different pronunciation. When you speak of the panno, la stoffa, cloth, it's cloth. When you make the garments, i vestiti, it changes into a the, from th to the. So clothes. This is one of the most difficult English pronunciation, because you need to pronounce the and then the s. Clothes. Paolo, say it, please. Clothes.
Maybe clothes.
Bravo. Massimo?
Clothes.
No.
Clothes.
No. Okay. Cloth is the material, stoffa. But when you weave, quando cuci, no, it's the. Remember, it's in the phonetic alphabet, we mentioned that there is a th and there is a the, like, for example, the article the, or there. Where are you? Oh, he's there. Okay, 3, the number 3. And you have there, there. The and the. 3 and there. So they're 2 different phonemes. If you go back and check the phonetic alphabet, you'll find 2 different symbols. Okay, 2 different symbols. I mean, if it were simpler to check this in, let's see. Okay, I need to stop sharing and then share again and go here. Sorry. Now let me go. Okay. I'm sure you don't see it. Do you see it? No.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you see, this is the symbol of th, like 3 in the phonetic alphabet. I mentioned that English has 21 vowel sounds, not 5, 21. Remember e, yes, and all that. O, occur, ha, were, and not we, not wa. That's a big difference. But even in consonants, they're different. You have the th, like cloth. You see, cloth. You have to put the tongue between the teeth. Cloth. In many languages, you have this sound, like in Arabic. For example, you say 3 velata. 3. So, and that's one sound. Now let's get, since we're here, instead to the comments. Okay, can you see? I think you can see now. Okay, let's now look at this.
Clothes.
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 Slightly different between British and English. So the symbol, however, is the same. You can see this. The other one was, remember, you see, it's like a no with something in the middle. You see, this is the sound of the, while this is the sound of the. And remember, this is, one is voiceless, one is with voice. So if you put your, as a little trick is, if you put your hands on your throat, you will see cloth and clothes.
Cloth.
Cloth, cloth, and
Cloths. Cloths.
clothes, clothes, clothes,
Clothes.
clothes,
Clothes. Clothes.
clothes. In American English, it sounds like a V. Clothes, clothes, clothes.
Clothes.
Okay, but by the way, both in British English and American English, the sound is so difficult because you have to put the and then the s, clothes. So it's also acceptable to just put a Z, like
Clothes.
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 It is acceptable. So you can say, one moment, let me grab, fammi acchiappare my clothes, clothes, I miei abiti. Although the perfect pronunciation should be clothes, clothes. But because it's so complicated and most even native speakers find it difficult, they would say clothes, clothes, clothes. You see, as it is clarified here. So, however, remember there's a the and a the with different, you see, this is a symbol of the, while the symbol of the is this, okay? The. Remember these, because when you speak English, you find out, you will notice the difference when people speak and when you speak as well, and you need to revise what you're saying. Okay, now let's go back to our, where are we? Here, I need to share screen and I learn my way. Okay, so the verb, however, cloth is a noun, il panno. When you say vestire, the verb, it's clothes, clothed, with the other the. So you say, so I need some cloth because I need to clothe my garments. Devo cucire, devo fare i vestiti. And the garments itself, i vestiti, gli indumenti, sono chiamati clothes. So you have the th when you speak of the noun, sostantivo, il panno. When you speak of vestire, okay, then it's clothed, the verb. You see, remember this lesson about is a difficult pronunciation. I'm sorry, I did not invent it. Okay. However, there's a simple one here now for you. Enthusiastic, with a th, enthusiastic or enthusiasm. And
Mauros, excuse me, why do you pronunciate enthusiastic instead of enthusiastic?
you know, in English, some people say it in one way, some people in another way. Some people say enthusiastic, some people say enthusiastic. Enthusiastic is more appropriate. As a matter of fact, you're right, enthusiastic. But I hear most people say enthusiastic or enthusiasm. These letters are pronounced the E. When the E is at the beginning, sometimes it's pronounced E, sometimes E, and sometimes N. Like, for example, and we will see now, when you speak of imprenditore, it's written with an E, but it's pronounced entrepreneur with an on. So these things vary, and you will hear some people saying one way. However, you're right. The most perfect way would be enthusiastic. But if you can see this, 1 second, can you see the vocabulary or not? Or no?
No.
Okay, let me, because every time I have to share screen and go, okay, now you can see it, okay. So in, and then this is a sound, th, enthusiastic, enthusiastic. In American English, enthusiastic. In British English, it's enthusiastic, enthusiastic. So there's even, as you see, there's an E. It's not a J. Remember, it is written like a J, and the J has a J sound, like you say junior, not junior, that's Latin. But this is not the letter, this is a phoneme, it's a phonetic symbol. And the phonetic symbol is E. So enthusiastic in British English and enthusiastic in American English. Americans like to do things slightly simpler. Thank God. So let's go back to, so I have to stop share and then, I don't know, this is madness. This is so enthusiastic. And now these words here, are very important for you because you will be very confused. So, the two O's, O. I forgot to put one word, which is blood, by the way. So these two letters O are generally pronounced good, hood, look, nook, hook, book. So it's an U. The two O's become U. You know, a simple U. Good, look, nook, which means a little, un angoletto, hook, amo, l'amo del pesce, purtroppo, book, libro. But however, these two O's might be pronounced differently. For example, when you speak of food, cibo, it's not food or mood, but it's food and mood. Very long. Okay, so let me show this to you. Okay, why don't you go there, my friend? So I have to stop share and then share again. Okay, you see it now, you see? Food.
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 And the same thing, you say mood. I'm in a bad mood. Sono un umore cattivo. I'm in a bad mood, food. Two O's. So the other were pronounced like hook, book. You know, where is my book? Dov'è il mio libro? Book, although you have two O's. In other words, you know, I forgot to mention this. I should include, when I will send it to you, I will include this word. I will remember that sometimes, however, they're pronounced in a different way. For example, let me write it up before I forget this. I have to say stop share and then share screen, and let's go here. Now I forgot. So let's go on before I forget. Let me put before I forget. No, that's a share screen. I can't write here. Okay. Okay. Blood. Wait, blood. Blood. Ok. Sangue e allagamento. Ok. Quindi blood. You see, it's very similar to food and mood, but you pronounce it blood and flood. What can I say? It's like this. Another word with two O's, like room, it can be pronounced in both ways. You can say the room or the room. Some people say room, some people say room. So they're both correct. So you see the complexity. Okay, I will, when I'll send you the file, I'll remember this and I will, make a point about sending it to you with the right ones, with the link, etc. So remember, so let's revise this, consider this. So good, hood, che vuol dire cappuccio o anche cofano, in inglese americano, perché in inglese britannico il cofano si dice bonnet, bonnet. In inglese americano si dice hood, so così hood o cappuccio, il cappuccio, hood, metto un cappuccio. Look, guardare, nook, angolino, hook, amo, book, libro, all simple U, okay? If you go to this, can you see it? Can you see it?
Yes, I see everything.
We'll go to these various words in the English dictionary. You'll find that they're pronounced that way. But with food and mood, there's a long U. It's the same letter, but with a due punti, the colon, the phonetic symbol. So it's food and mood. For blood and flood, they're pronounced blood and flood. And room can be pronounced either room or room. I personally pronounce it in a long way, room. But some people say, well, where's my room? Where's my room in the hotel? I would say, oh, my room is number 43, for example, but some people, generally Americans, I think, say room. My room is 43 because they make things faster. Is everything okay? Did you understand the complexity?
Yeah.
Okay. The language is all like this, my dear friends. If you want to speak English with the English or the American or the Pakistani, the Indian, the South African, the Jamaicans, remember how many English people, and then English is also second language of at least 1 billion people. So the language is like this. You can't do nothing. When you hear the van der Leyen speaking or the chief of the NATO or Biden or anybody, even Meloni can speak English now, our prime minister. So you have to speak this way. I'm sorry, I didn't invent the language. So then we have another thing like, remember, the cloth and clothes, breath and breathe. Breath, il respiro, okay? Hold your breath, trattieni il respiro. Breath, 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 respiro, hold your breath, trattieni il respiro, hold your breath. Okay, breath, with like 3, with that funny symbol, which is like an O with something in the middle, right? Now this instead is breathe, breathe. It's a verb, respirare. So uno è respiro, breath. The other is respirare, to breathe. Okay, with the other the. Okay, so you say, please breathe. She breathes. It's like this. I'm breathing now. So respirando. Can you breathe? Yes, I can breathe. I am breathing now. Then hold your breath. Okay, breath, okay? 2 things. That's how it is. Now this is, I wonder if you were careful, if you paid attention the first time. So you have this word, these words, remember, okay, let me tell you. So now this is bow, bow. What does it mean? It's a violin, okay, bows, vuol dire strumenti a stringa, bow. It's a weapon, l'arco, the bow, okay? Gli inglesi, they were famous for the long bow. Avevano un arco molto grande, with which they won the invading French armies in the Middle Ages, the long bow. The English were experts in this, experienced masters in producing and using the long bow, un arco molto lungo. And then also the laccio di scarpa, shoelace bow, okay? Quindi bow ha questi tre significati, si pronuncia bow, no? Ma la stessa parola, the same word, can be pronounced in a different way. Bow, bow. Bow is when you have to, the bow you make to the queen, l'inchino, inchino, okay? Or even the verb, bow before the king, bow before King Charles, inchinati di fronte al re, bow. And also it has another meaning with this pronunciation, which is the prua, the bow or the bows. So the ship is sinking, la nave affonda, let's run to the bows, you know, correte alla prua, bows, bows or bows, generally it's bows, okay? And la popa is poop, P-O-O-P, which is also a bad word, okay? So remember, how did we define this word, Massimo? How did we define this type of words? Remember, I did mention, can you see me? Can you see me here?
Yeah, no, not now.
Can you see me? Can you see me? Row, row, and heteronyms, word with same spelling, different pronunciation, and different meaning. Okay, English is full of them. And then remember the opposite, in a way, opposite. They are the homophones.
Homophones.
Words with different spelling, like air and air, erede, aria, which have different spelling, different meaning, but they're pronounced in the very same way, air. So heteronyms and homophones. Now, bow and bow are heteronyms, you see. Different words written in the very same way. There's plenty of this in English. Then you have nearly homophones, nearly heteronyms in this case, sorry. Draft, to draft, the draft è una corrente, you know. I hear a draft coming from the window, draft. But then
uno spiffero.
Sì, un vento forte, no? Draft, you know. Then you have draft, similar pronunciation, not identical, because it's with the A, you know, cat, remember, cat or flat tax. So draft. Draft means abbozzo, disegno, no? Copia, draft. And then drought is siccità, drought. And distraught, another pronunciation, means sconvolto, you know. I'm personally distraught because I lost my mother, distraught. So you have the draft, and even draft beer, by the way, mind you, draft has different meanings. For example, because the principle is that it flows, it applies also to liquid. For example, you say, may I have some draft beer? You want to go to the pub or in a pizzeria, in a restaurant, say, what type of beer do you have? You know, Heineken? No, I'd like to have some draft beer. Draft beer, vuol dire birra alla spina, because it flows. Draft beer. Remember this. So draft, drought, and distraught. Similar words. They're not homonyms. They're not heteronyms, sorry. They're similar words because of they have a similar root. And mind you, you can also see something that we will examine in the next lesson. Whenever in English you have this GHT, okay, or actually UGHT, you see in these cases, the pronunciation of this word can vary enormously, even with the final F, for example, even without the T, even without the final T, sometimes, for example, tosse, cough, it is written without the T, but still with with O-U-G-H. So we will consider this in another lesson, because, there are so many words ending with this GH, which need more consideration. So, but remember, whenever you find words with GH, trouble is around the corner. The pronunciation can be tricky in a way. So draft, drought, and drought. Rispettivamente, Massimo, mi ripeti i concetti, per favore. Draft is what? Massimo?
Draft.
Okay, what is draft?
I don't remember draft.
Corrente, aria,
Okay.
vento.
Bozza.
Draft, bozza, bravo. Drought
Drought.
comes from dry gin, dry weather. Drought, siccità.
Okay.
And distraught.
Distrutto.
Distraught means, sconvolto. Okay.
Okay.
Then going ahead, you can see Gloucester. We spoke about this. Gloucester, not Gloucester. It's like Leicester, Gloucester, Worcester, not whatever. Worcester. It's famous for university and for the sauce. Remember the sauce I mentioned to you? Here it is. Can you see it here? Worcester sauce. It's a famous thing. I shouldn't be taking because it has animal things, something of animal inside. So I'm vegetarian. So Worcester sauce and the famous Worcester University. It's a nice town somewhere in the middle of England. So then we mentioned Tottenham, not Tottenham, Tottenham. And in London, they also say Tonham. Who's playing tonight? Tonham and Leeds. Okay, Tottenham. However, the appropriate pronunciation should be Tottenham, not Tottenham. Okay, we spoke about this last time. So then you have exactly. You see, exactly is pronounced exactly, exactly right. So then remember this word. Eleonora. So Tara is back. So
What chocolate
no.
exactly?
Okay, exactly. We've gone through exactly. So we all crave for chocolate. I love chocolate. Who doesn't like chocolate? Must not be a human, probably. So it has 3 syllables, chocolate, okay? In Italiano, 4, cioccolata, boom. Okay. In English, it has 2 syllables. It pronounced with 2 syllables, chocolate. Tara, do you like chocolate?
I love chocolate.
Chocolate, you see. And even American English, they pronounce it right. Chocolate. So chocolate, I'm joking. Then we mentioned this time, remember this time? Cocoa, el cacao. Because in Italian, Tara, it is pronounced like the South Americans, who invented this plant. Cacao. That's how the Incas called it in cacao. And in Italian, it's cacao. But in English, it's cocoa.
Cocoa.
In American English, in British English, it's cocoa. In American English, say it again, please, Tara.
Cocoa. Like Coco Chanel. Cocoa.
Yes, because like you remember we said this, they generally use the as a diphthong O. And well, in British English, the diphthong is O. So co, while they say co. There's this little difference. So then, okay, this word nothing specially, but you should know how to pronounce it literally. Actually, this is a British pronunciation. Tara, how would you pronounce this in American English? I mean,
Literally.
In English, in American English, things are simpler. They generally tend to pronounce the T as a T. However, sometimes, and we will see soon, they also use what is called in English the flap T, meaning that when the T is between two vowels, quando la T è tra due vocali, they pronounce it like D. For example, water, right? In British English, it's water. While water. They pronounce it when the T is between due vocali, two vowels. They say water, or data. We will see this in a while. So, but this word generally in both languages pronounced literally. In British English, with a sort of ch sound, literally, like literature or literally. They say literally. You say literally with a
Literally, correct.
Okay, there we go. Another word with very convoluted pronunciation is this one here. In Italian, it would be sesto, numero, come dire, ordinario. Primo, secondo, quinto, quarto, quinto, sesto. So complication here is that you have the X, because in English, the letter is X, not X. So it's X factor, not X. Tara, the letter is pronounced in Italian like X, okay, not X. So here you have the complication of saying of this X, and then you have the th. So you say sixth. So it's kind of complicated. Some people say sixth. However, the correct pronunciation is sixth. How do you pronounce it, Tara, yourself?
Sixth.
So you put an S, but it's a th.
No, sixth. So fifth, sixth.
Yes, seven.
Yeah.
Yes, it's always TH like fourth, fifth, seventh.
Yes,
but
seventh,
sixth. But the sixth, so complicated, but it should be pronounced sixth. So
correct.
That's the correct pronunciation. Then another exception to the exception. Remember, Paolo said you should say.
Tell me, Mauro.
Okay, now Tara, can tell me something, please. How do you pronounce exactly in American English? Enthusiast or enthusiast? How do you pronounce it exactly in American English?
An enthusiast, enthusiastic, enthusiast.
So the first letter, does it have an E sound or like a sort of net?
In.
Because in British English we say also enthusiast.
Yes,
And
yes, enthusiast.
Thank you.
Correct.
But in British, many would say enthusiast, not enthusiast. Okay, however, with the first in is more it is more appropriate, perhaps, surely appropriate. But in this word now, remember, every time in English you think there's a rule, things will change, and they will take the seat before you, so you boom, fall on the ground. You see, you have these two words here, and you might think, Paula, that they're pronounced entrepreneur or
entrepreneur, maybe entrepreneur.
No, they're pronounced because they come from French. they're pronounced entrepreneur, entrepreneur. And ensuite, ensuite means bagno in camera, for example, ensuite bathroom, ensuite. So it's not en suite or in suite or entrepreneur or entrepreneur, it's entrepreneur, ensuite. I think also in American English, isn't it,
Correct.
Tara?
Yes.
So, entrepreneur and ensuite. So remember this, entrepreneur and changes. But by the way, the entrepreneur is the owner of an enterprise, right? And how do you pronounce that? How do you pronounce it?
Enterprise.
Enterprise.
Like Star Trek.
Say it again. Enterprise.
Enterprise.
Okay, so you see, the entrepreneur is the owner of an enterprise. So the two words come from the same root, right? Which also, by the way, is a Latin originally word, which means intraprendere. But it comes from French, and so one follows, entrepreneur follows the French pronunciation, while enterprise follows in more English pronunciation. And sometimes they might follow the Italian pronunciation. For example, you say fiasco. Fiasco is an Italian word. They don't say fiasco, they say fiasco, right? Fiasco.
Fiasco.
Stanza, fresco, to have a dinner al fresco. When Tara was in Rome, maybe she'll invite me for a tea al fresco in her terrace. Al fresco meaning al fresco, exactly. Like, pranzare fuori. You say al fresco. So exactly like in Italian, al fresco. So you have also Italian words coming generally from the Renaissance period. Mind you, the Americans say Renaissance, but in British English, it's Renaissance. This is, again, a difference. Anytime a word comes from French, generally, actually, the Americans are closer to the French source. For example, they say fiancé, right? Or
Fiancé, correct.
okay,
Fiancé.
but in British English, it's fiancé, fiancé. So again, American English is a little simpler and closer to the French root. British English always changes in a way. So entrepreneur and ensuite. This is another French word which will drive you crazy, both in British and American English. Let's check this, sorry. Let's check this in the, where was it? Sorry, I need to go to the, so, okay, let me share it with you. Okay, okay, here we are. Can you see it? So essentially, it means antipasto. In Italian, the word should be antipasto, antipasto. Most people in the United States would say starter. What do you have as a starter? Come inizi il pranzo? Starter, a start. How do you start your lunch? Or starter. So, but the most sophisticated words for this element is, okay, in British English, in this case, you follow more the French pronunciation. It's hors d'oeuvre, hors d'oeuvre. But in American English, they say it in a different way, and they even misspell it when they pronounce it because they put the R before the V. They say hors d'oeuvre, right? So let me spell it. So hors d'oeuvre, hors d'oeuvre, hors d'oeuvre. This is British. In American, hors d'oeuvre, hors d'oeuvre. So they say hors d'oeuvre. While you see the V, the R, now they put the R before the V. It's written like that, but they say hors d'oeuvre, hors d'oeuvre. for some reason.
Hors d'oeuvre.
You see,
Hors d'oeuvre.
hors d'oeuvre in British English. See how things can be complicated, you know. Hopefully you will not find this word. Most people say starter, and you will, both British, English, and Americans will understand this, both English. So
It's
let's
easy, yeah.
share starter. So what do you have as a starter, right, Tara? You say starter, right?
Well,
When
I
you go to the
personally
rest,
don't. I personally will serve hors d'oeuvres, and you know, cocktail, and then the main course and the entree, and then dessert. Mhm.
but you are a sophisticated Americans. What do most Americans say when they go to restaurants?
Probably a starters. Yeah.
With
They've
the-
dumbed down. They call it a starter. Mhm. But
With-
I never have called it a starter.
You're too sophisticated, sorry. However, she uses, you see, the erotic R, starter. While in British English would be starter. You would not pronounce any of those R's. You say starter. They say starter. You see, starter, 2 R's. We make it a silent R, and they pronounce it. We say that they pronounce the erotic R, okay? But it's very different from when British say Rome, it's Rome. They say Rome is somewhere near to the uvula. Remember this. So starter or Jimmy Carter, hopefully, did he die or not?
Not yet.
Good.
I don't believe so. I didn't see my news.
Carter. Then British English it would be Carter.
Carter.
Okay. That's American. Okay. Carter. You see, they pronounce with it. The tongue doesn't meet the palate and is pronounced after the uvula. Dopo la, come si chiama? L'uvola, no? Ugola. So starter, okay? And in a very nasal way, because they try to make less effort. They speak with their throat and generally with their nose. So starter, Carter. While in British English, generally the Brits like to use all their mouth. So they say Carter, porter, or they say porter. How do you call it? Say, can I get a porter? How do you say it again? Can I get a porter? Try to pronounce this, Tara. Porter.
A porter, please. Porter.
Porter. But in
Porter.
British English, it's porter. Can I have a porter? More in the front part of the porter. They say porter. You see, with their throat and the nose, porter, because they speak faster, by the way. In a way, American English is an evolution of British English, so they like to speak fast. They invent new words. They have a lot of things to say. And with British English, with its very proper pronunciation, you need to speak a little slower. It's faster than Italian, but it's slower than American. So they go fast. They cut words. For example, laboratorio, in British English, laboratory. One syllable. Laboratory. Americans would say lab. So where are you going? I'm going to the lab. In British English, say I'm going to the laboratory, because laboratory, it's too long. So we cut some letters, they cut the entire thing. So let's go on. And then, so can you see what can you see now? Can you see the words here, or the word, can you see it, or what are you looking? No, let me share screen. Okay, now you can see the words. So now these 2 words have, remember, the same sound of work, word, and world in British English. So it's, in that case, you had a no, word. In this case, you have an I, girl. Americans, I think, would say, how do you say girl? You say
Girl.
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 And
Girl.
British, it's girl. There's a girl here, girl. So, and her, it's not her, it's her. Again, that sound, you know, it's the one which is in like una lettera I, reversed, not the schwa. It's the same letter, but reversed with the two punti. No? Ricordate? Ricordate? Word, work, surgery, girl, her. Although you have an O in work or word, although you have a U like surgery, now here we have an I, girl, and even an E, her. Well, the sound is always So the sounds, the phonemes, can be totally different from the Latin alphabet, totally different. They're constructed in a different way. And you must say, oh, so why do, after all, do they use the Latin alphabet if they pronounce it in a different way? Because, you know, it would be so complicated. So the Latin, the words of Latin alphabet as you are used as how can I say, as a record. I mean, you read it in a way, but you know that you have to pronounce it in a different way. It's like, you know, it's like stenography. I mean, it's like stenographia, you know, it's like they know what to say. Bed, for example, bed. Okay, so you have her and you have bed, the same letter, you know, the E. So in one case, it's bed, like in Italian, bello, bed, in this case, letto, bed, letto. But it can be her, not her. So bed and her, same letter. So they know. I mean, you will know too, because you listen, you pronounce, and then you start combining, you know, that spelling with that sound. It's so easy. If we were to use the International Phonetic Alphabet, my goodness, I don't think anybody would speak English anymore. So then other words, you see, when you have GN, in Italian, Tara, these words are pronounced gn, magnetico, ignorante, okay, you say incinta, not pregnant, but the word are Latin, okay. So the English and Americans use the GN with the same sound like the ancient Latin. So they say magnetic, ignorant, and pregnant. So you say, oh, you're an ignorant. Don't say you're an ignorant, you're an ignorant. He's an ignorant, ignore. The verb is ignore, not ignore. So, and even magna carta, la carta non è magna carta, it's magna carta, okay? So GN comes from ancient Roman, ancient Latin, but it's pronounced like like ancient Latin, gn. So magnetic, ignorant, pregnant, okay? Check this. Then these words all relate with sheep, you know, pecore. So sheep is a word for pecore. One pecora, one sheep, or 200 sheep. So it doesn't change. Sheep, like hair. 2 hair, 100 hair, one single hair. So sheep, ok? Vuol dire pecora o pecore. Non cambia, ok? Sheep. This word here is a ewe, and it's a female sheep, una pecora femmina. It's pronounced ewe, an ewe, ok? While ram è una pecora maschio, ok? Quindi ewe and ram. Lamb, without the B, lamb, okay, is agnello in Italian, okay? And mutton is the meat of sheep. La carne, non vuol dire montone. Montone is ram, okay? Pecora is ewe, and agnello, lamb. And mutton, not mutton, silent O, mutton is the meat of the sheep. Do you understand this? Okay, it's it's a complexity within the language, but nothing special after all, right? Other words of French origin, which confuse generally Italians, are this one, ricetta. This means ricetta. By the way, have you understood about the sheep, ewe, ram, lamb, mutton?
Yes.
So sheep are all the sheep, or one sheep, or all the sheep in the world. The ewe is a female sheep. The ram is a male sheep, or is a male of a species. The lamb is a baby, so agnello, and the mutton, la carne, the meat, for those who have this barbaric habit. You shouldn't be beating, especially the sheep, which are the most angelic creatures of this world, in my opinion, the best creatures, better than humans and everyone else. So now you have this French origin words. So this is ricetta, and it's pronounced recipe. In American, Tara, is it
Yes.
recipe?
Recipe.
Recipe. It's not recipe or receipt or whatever. It's pronounced recipe with a schwa, recipe. So you can check it then in the pronunciation when you have the file. I'll send them, Tara, this file so they can check every single word. A similar word is ricevuta, okay, and it's pronounced receipt. Silent P. You see, the P is silent. Receipt. Can I have a receipt, please? So receipt. Silent P. So recipe and receipt. Remember this because they are confusing, both because they have a strange pronunciation from a Latin perspective. You know, Italian is a pure Latin language. Every letter should have a sound. This doesn't occur in all kinds of English. So recipe and receipt. Likewise, allo stesso modo, likewise, there's another word with a strange pronunciation, forbici, le forbici, no, where are you? Should have a pair of scissors here. Forbici, okay, these are small scissors. Forbici. Okay, forbici. Now, well, I'll cut a long story short. They're pronounced scissors, con la Z. Scissors. In American English, well, you have the R for scissors.
Scissors.
So but however, you have the Z, scissors. Let's check this in a moment. Stop share, and let's go back to share. Okay, you see, let's hear them.
Scissors.
In British English?
Scissors.
There's a, you see, the O becomes a schwa, scissors, the short sound, scissors. But it is preceded and followed by Z, scissors. And the R is not pronounced scissors. Americans follow the same general rule, but they pronounce the R, the erotic R, so scissors. How can you possibly pronounce the R? Scissors. Well, okay.
Scissors.
It's the American, and
Scissors.
in British, scissors in American English, although Tara says scissors. Well, Americans sometimes have strange pronunciation within the American language. For example, when they speak risultati, they say it should be results, but they say results. Why do you say results?
Results.
Yeah, but there is a results. There's a U. So in British English, result, but they say results. Do you? Results.
Yes.
A strange language. So let's stop share and let's go back to our guide here. There. Okay. So scissors and scissors. Scissors. And then these are simple words. Beach, la spiaggia, which is different from beach. Okay. Che vuol dire cagna, che vuol dire strombola, bad person, e vuol dire anche, it might mean a prostitute, okay? A bitch, she's a bitch, you know? It might mean an ugly person, especially about a woman. She's a bitch.
Female dog. A female dog is called a bitch.
Yes, a bitch. I mean, and that's a normal word. And she's a, I mean, I have to bring the bitch to the veterinario. So bitch is a female dog, but it's also a bad person and a prostitute, bitch. Okay.
Okay.
And there's also stop bitching me or something like this. So, you know, so then this is, of course, a simple word, hot, hot, hot. Then this word here, I put it here because, okay, primate, you know, it's a Latin word. In Italian, it's primati, not I primati, the primates. Why did I mention it here? Because when you will check the pronunciation, I'm not going through the whole thing now. There is a slight difference when you speak about, you know, monkeys or humans, the primates. When you speak, though, of a priest, of a high priest, like you say primate, not primate. So it's the primate, the primate of Canterbury. The Archbishop of Canterbury is a primate. Well, when you speak of us or the monkeys, you say primates. So primate for the priest, primate for the primates, for the monkeys and men. And same word pronounced slightly different. So remember this detail. If you click this link, it will explain it to you well. So then we have another of these words, which is impossible, especially of for the difference between American English and British English, and which is very explanatory in many ways. So the singular verb datum, dato in Italian, okay, non ho il dato. So British English is datum, and American English, they say datum, datum. They try, you know, again, a T between two vowels becomes datum, datum, right? Tara?
Yes, correct.
So datum, datum. In British English, datum.
Could you spell the noun, please, Mauro?
Sorry?
Could you do the spelling?
It's here, the spelling. Can you see it?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. You know,
Okay.
let me share screen. Here it is. Okay. Can you see it now? I'm sorry. Can you see? Of course you can. This was the primate. Remember primate? I primati. We are all primates. But when you speak of the priest or the high priest, he is a primate. Same spelling, but okay, this is a heteronym of sorts. It's the same word, but you pronounce it primate when you're speaking of us as, you know, a species. So, but when you speak of a high priest, you say primate, not primate. Otherwise, you call a high priest of Canterbury like a monkey. So I don't think you would be pleased. So then the next word which we were speaking of is datum. So datum, you see, it comes from Latin, dato, okay? But you pronounce it differently. In British English, it's datum. While in American English, again, I think it's called flap T. They pronounce, when a T is between two vowels, they frequently pronounce it as a D, like water. So it's datum, datum, okay, datum. And this is about one, datum or datum. But when it is plural, the variety, the varieties are even greater. So, because in British English, we say data, data, or also data, data, while in, I'm sorry, I have to say, while in American English, they say data or data, 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 right? You say generally data, data.
The
So
data,
how do you say data?
data,
Data. So
data, or
when
the
you-
data, data, probably data, data. That's what we say in
No.
California.
But however, in American English, generally you say data, data, data,
Data,
or data or data.
data.
But in British English, you generally it is data, 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 data. And singular in British English, datum, and in American English, datum, datum. Remember, because you will hear both, depending on whatever, if you follow the BBC, or actually the BBC, I call it the salad English. They have all kinds of English, including pidgin English, they have African English. But depending on the person, you will hear data and data or data. They're the same word, pronounced very differently, okay? This word, for the next word, doesn't have all these this interchangeable varieties. It means it's always pronounced via, via, both in British English and American English. Some people would say via or via, but generally it's via, which means it's when you, it's a figurative word, like in Italian via. So I need to send this by ship, via, it both has a physical meaning. We'll send it via DHL, but generally it is a more figurative word, like tramite. So he had a plea presented to the European Parliament via the Socialist Party, via, per via, or tramite. It's a Latin word, but it's pronounced via, 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 okay? Both in British and American English, via. It's hardly ever pronounced via. So remember, so I have this letter and I'm presenting it to the Italian Parliament via the Democratic Party, if it still exists. So, and so on. Then you have a, so you remember via, tramite, not via. So, okay, via. Now, then you have a word we have spoken about, row, the series or set of elements, or row, argument, lit contenzioso. Remember, it is the first word we pronounce here, heteronyms, row, and where is it? Row, you see, row and row, row and row. A row is a series of targets, of elements, of chairs, while row is a litigation, an argument of some sort, okay? We mentioned this before. Another one which is strange is awry, so awry. When something goes awry, it doesn't happen in the way it was planned, or it's not in the right position. So you pronounce it awry. Notice a strange awry. It begins with a schwa, awry, both in English and American English, awry. So you might think it's ori. No, it's not ori, it's awry. And the very similar pronunciation is Riley, rye, without the initial words, rye. Generally, the initial W is not pronounced, rye, which means interesting, funny, but not really that interesting. So it's sarcastic, you know. So she made a wryly smile, meaning that she smiled, but actually she was sarcastic, wryly. I just put it there because it's similar to awry. So awry is one thing, wry is another thing. Similar things, but totally pronounced totally different. Then a very simple word, hierarchy. In British English, same way, hierarchy.
Hierarchy. Hierarchy.
Hierarchy. Hierarchy. In British, hierarchy. In American English, gerarchia in Italian. Then this word, you know, when you say they are not, okay, you don't pronounce it aren't, but you pronounce it aren't, aren't. In American English, aren't. In British English, aren't. They aren't fit for the job. Non sono compatibili col lavoro. They aren't. They're not, they aren't. They aren't or aren't. So when you have this combination, are not, you pronounce it aren't or aren't. Okay? And then remember this word, we spoke about it last time. So this word, which is of Persian origin, it comes from Persian naranj, but in English, in Italian, it's arancio. In its English, or arancione, the color. Then in English, though, it's orange, orange. In American English, it's orange. This is longer, orange, orange. In British English, orange. In American English, orange, right? So I know there is an A, but surprise, surprise, you pronounce it orange, and orange in American English. What can I say? Ask Tara. Then in other words, we spoke about the month of it's not April, aprile in Italian, but in English it's April, April with a schwa, April, 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 April with a schwa, not April or April, it's April, April, April. So another subtlety, not a sottigliezza. And then three similar words which need to be pronounced well and understood well. So there's a difference between ingenious, and disingenuous. Ingenious is like in Italian, ingegnoso, okay, ingegnoso. Very suitable for a particular purpose and resulting from clever new ideas. Ingegnoso. Ingenious. Same thing, generally speaking, with also in American English. And then a similar word is ingenious. Not ingenious, but ingenious, which means honest, innocent, willing to trust people. Ingenuo, you say. The similar word synonym is naive or ingenious. The contrary of ingenious is disingenuous, okay? Not sincere, especially when you pretend to know less about something that you really do. Disingenuous. So three similar words which need to be pronounced well. Another funny word is weird. Weird. In American English, it's simpler, weird. In British English, it's weird. In American English, it's weird, with the erotic R, weird. Well, in British English, notice there's a diphthong, you see, ear. No R and a diphthong, weird. In American English, it's weird, which means strange, unusual, and difficult to explain, like I am. So, joking, of course, you know. Then a simple word here, it's handkerchief, handkerchief. Just to mention that there's a silent D. We will have another lesson for the silent letter or silent syllables, and it has to be a long lesson because many words in English have, also in American English, have silent letters or silent syllables. So handkerchief, not handkerchief. So maybe the spots say handkerchief, maybe. So then you have the silent, so indictment and indictable with a silent C. I just mentioned them, you know, indict, to indict, not indict. These are Latin words coming from Latin. And then you have also the silent H, rhythm, ritmo, and rhyme, playwright. All these have silent H. So rhythm, rhyme,
Rhyme.
playwright.
Playwright. Playwright.
Playwright. So you do not pronounce in this case the W, playwright. And then the verb vergognare or imbarazzare, embarrass, embarrass, embarrass. You don't pronounce embarrass, although you have two R's and two S. You say embarrass, embarrass. Okay, not embarrass, embarrass. Okay, because they cut things and go fast. Then of course millennia, millennial, and millennia. And the plural in American English, it could be millenniums, but generally it is millennia. Millennium, millennium.
Millennia is a Latin noun. I prefer. It's better. The best way is millennia.
In Latin, Tara, Paolo, who just spoke, is an archaeologist. And so he has a very classical view of all words, you know. He sometimes has difficulty.
For example, the plural, Mauro, if I can, the plural of museum is, I think, musea.
No, in English it's museums, I think. Tara, would you say museums? What's the pure plural?
Museum, museums,
Museum.
museums.
Yes, just put an S. No, not museum. Museum.
Millennia, millennium, millennia.
You can say both millennia or millenniums. Okay.
See,
But museum is museums. Museum.
museums.
Yes. No musea. No. Because you know this words come from the fourth declination of Latin. Like, you know, so plural can be achieved in Latin both in generally in the fourth declination by putting ne. And we have a problem in Italian. For example, we never know if we say, when we speak of horns, even of a man, if it's corni or corna. Is it or uova, uovi? So le uova, gli uovi. So because in Latin it was, the plural was made with the final A, uova, corna, and so on. Then you have, I'll go quickly here, conscience, conscience, conscious, okay, please check these words. I will not go through them, otherwise we'll make this too heavy and long. So these are all words of Latin origin. So you say origin, so you say conscience, conscious, convalescence, convalescenza, convalescence, acquiesce, so acquiescence, coalescence, and incandescence. These are all similar words of Latin origin, and Latin words coming from Latin are spell trouble in English. You know, they are sometimes cut, they're sometimes completely transformed. So then these more practical words, okay, so the one you drink, it has a different pronunciation. In British English, it's beer, beer. Can I have a beer, please? In American English, you say beer. Can I have a beer, please? I want a beer. In British English, it's a beer. Can I have a beer, please? So it's slightly different. The same goes for the beer. Yeah. So beard, beard. And in American English, it's the beard. I have a beard. But in British English, I have a beard. It's slightly different. And then also for the animal or the verb, remember we mentioned this, to bear, while American English is to bear. And so another word with difference is the day. Okay. The American Tuesday or Tuesday, generally they say Tuesday. In British English, you have practically two ways of saying this. The one speaking the posh received pronunciation like the Queen or the King, they say Tuesday, which is, by the way, perhaps the most correct way. But most English-speaking standard received pronunciation, which means most educated, mind you, educated in English is a false friend. Educated doesn't mean educato. Educato is well-mannered. Educated means istruito. Okay, like Tara, she's a very well-educated person. Educated. So the educated people in Britain would say Tuesday. But the posh received pronunciation people would say Tuesday, and I think they're right. In American English, it's Tuesday, okay? So there's a famous song, remember the Rolling Stones? Goodbye, Ruby Tuesday. They said, goodbye, Ruby Tuesday. Who could hang the name on you when you change with every new day? Do you remember the lyrics, Tara? You don't remember.
It's familiar, yes.
In American English, it's Tuesday. When are you around? Tuesday. But in British English, it's either Tuesday. You know, in the internet, you have a fay of popular guy teaching English. He's British. He's excellent. His name is Joe, and his channel is called Joe English. Okay, and he emphasizes that people should say Tuesday, but that's wrong. I mean, you can say Tuesday. Most people say Tuesday, but the correct pronunciation in British English is Tuesday, not Tuesday, which is not even ranked, by the way. It's not even in the vocabularies. So let's go ahead, supersede, which means superare nel tempo, rendere obsoleto. So the internet made superseded the newspapers, so they made them, you know, obsolete. Ecstasy. Then a word with two different pronunciation. The Brits pronounce Caraibico. Caraibico would be in Italian. In British English, generally it is Caribbean, while most Americans say Caribbean, right, Tara? You say Caribbean.
Caribbean.
But in British English, it's Caribbean islands. The islands of the Caribbean, they say Caribbean, okay. Then harass, same thing, it means disturbare. Then, well, there's nothing special about this. Arctic in British English, Arctic in American English, and Antarctic and Antarctic in American English, nothing special. Occur, remember, this is again, here you have it, you see the reverse, the phoneme with the reverse E and with the two colons, occur, like surgery, word, her, girl, occur, okay? Then recommend, you have two M's in English, but you just pronounce one. I can recommend, not recommend. Okay, recommend. I recommend you a restaurant, okay? Then I like this word, you know. It's so fun. Kerfuffle or kerfuffle. It means aria fritta. And so in essence, you know, we're speaking here of kerfuffle. Kerfuffle. But it's pronounced different between American English and British English. Kerfuffle and kerfuffle. Then deductible, okay, which means deducibile, okay. Just to practice the pronunciation, deductible. And then this other word, which has a totally different pronunciation between English and British English and American English. So in British English, it's liaison. While in American English, they follow more the French pronunciation. They say liaison or liaison, right? I think they say
Liaison.
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 Can't say it again.
Liaison.
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 But in British English, it's liaison. Okay, slightly different pronunciation, liaison. And I think that in American English, you make it longer, liaison. British English, liaison. So then, two difficult verbs. Okay, I'm just joking here. So so this is eschew. It's a verb. To eschew means to avoid, to try to avoid doing something. To eschew, and it's different from, and this is a verb, different from another word, which is an adjective or an adverb, which is askew, which means not in a straight or level position. When you just studied when I was in the class, so eschew and askew. So one is, it means to avoid doing something, okay, and the other means it's an adverb saying not in the right position, okay, about a portrait and a quadro, a picture or something. So askew, and then this is a rare word. Forget it. It's guffaw, which means to laugh loudly. Never mind. Another rare word, I like to find this word. It's curmudgeon. Do you know this word, Tara? I don't think you use it in American English. Curmudgeon means
mess. It seems like something's a mess, like chaotic, a mess. I don't know.
No, actually, British English.
Like made a mistake.
In British, bisbetico, like in Italian, an old man, gets annoyed very easily, getting off an old person, we say in Italian bisbetico. In British English, it's curmudgeon, because you don't pronounce the R. It makes it even complicated, curmudgeon. In American English, it's curmudgeon, that it's very rarely used, just forget it, This is rather, the next word is quite easy, frequently used. It's qualm, which means a feeling of doubt or worry. Come dire, riserva. I have some
qualms about that. I
Yeah.
have qualms about that. Yes, not quite sure.
I'm not sure. I have even moral qualms, riserve, in colpa. I have qualms about, doing this lesson. Maybe I'm tiring you. It's very annoying. So I have qualms about saying these words, qualms. It means, mind you, it's pronounced different. So I have a riserve, okay? Generally, you say this word when you refer to people that had no qualms about this, They, like the Russians invading Ukraine, with no qualms whatsoever. Nessun problema, see. So, and they speak about it as, they killed thousands of people as it, after all, what they need to do is just say that those are Nazi, huh? So they killed, destroyed, they destroyed the entire country. And Putin and his friends, the policy, the speaker yesterday said that we Italians are bastards, Paul Azin, I don't know, they have no qualms about doing what they're doing. So non avere nessun scrupolo. Okay. So a synonym in English is misgiving. And then you can say also in Italian, it's scrupolo, non avere scrupoli. They have no qualms about killing people. So this, and then, okay, this will end, okay, the lesson for today. Let's begin with an easy word, which is in British English, hodgepodge, while in American English, it's hodgepodge. It means a number of things, you know, un'insalata di cose, una confusione, un coacervo. So a number of things mixed together without any particular order or reason in British, but this is a quite used word, you know. This is, you know, I went, got in the room and I found a hodgepodge of all kind of things. In American English, it's hodgepodge. You see, even the spelling changes, but it means un casino, un coacervo di cose, you know. I got in the room or I got to university and I found a hodgepodge of all kinds of people. Hodgepodge in American English. So that is the easy, completely difficult word. But now let's go. These are the final words. Promise, promise, promise. Then we'll speak a little with Tara. So these are 3 verbs which drive non-English speaker crazy. If you're still with me, Massimo and Eleonora and Paolo, listen carefully because
I follow you.
you will have to repeat this word, these verbs 1,000 times before you actually learn them and learn how to speak, to utter them, to use them regularly. The 3 verbs for Tara, this of course is a joke. She must think that I'm joking because for her, these are easy peasy things, facili facili. The 3 verbs are to lay, to lie, and to lie. So what is the difficulty? To lay, it means it's a transitive verb. You see, transitive, so it has an object. So when you put something or somebody in a particular position, okay, especially when it's done gently or carefully. For example, I lay the eggs on the table, okay? I lay the eggs on the table. Nothing difficult, right? The past simple and the past participle and the ing form that all English verbs have are not that difficult, you would say. I laid, so I laid the eggs, and the past participle is I had laid the eggs on the table. And so where are the eggs? Or they're laying on the table. You would say, is Mauro crazy? What's the problem here? So easy. So to lay, laid, laid, laying, right? The point is that there is a similar verb, which is too similar, and this is confusing. The verb is to lie, and to make things more confusing is that you have another similar verb, which is to lie. Now, to lie, let's speak about the last one, is a very simple, regular verb. It means mentire in Italian. So, I mean, she lied to me, he lied to me, I'm lying to you. So, past simple, lied. I mean, he lied to me. And past participle, he had lied to me, and then he became an honest man. And the lying form is, you must be lying. Okay, so simple. The point is that there's a similar verb, which is similar to both the first 2 verbs I mentioned, which is to lie. Let's put this, still to lie. And it means it's an intransitive, so verb, it doesn't have an object. So you refer to the position of the person or the thing, which generally are people that are in a flat position, so that you're not standing or sitting. So giacere, it means giacere in Italian. So the point is that the past participle is lay. I lay down. So if I say, okay, lie down, please. Accomodati, mettiti sdraiato, lie down. Nothing special. But the past participle is he lay down. Notice the past participle is identical to the other verb in the infant form, so to lay. Okay, so he lay down, but this is another verb, and the past participle is lain. So he has lain down. And the ing form is lying, exactly like lying to lie. So this verb, the intransitive, it's an intransitive verb, which means to stay in a flat position, giacere, without an object. You cannot say, I have to make you, so I'm lying you down. No, you say lie down, or he was lying down, intransitivo, but it has some forms. The concept is not too distant, after all, from the verb to lay, which means porre su un piano le uova, gli oggetti, il bisturi, il libro. Okay, the book, the lancet, whatever, lay it on the table, please. And but it has the past simple, similar to the infinite form or to lay, and it has the ing form, which is identical of the ing form of to lie, the verb meaning to say things which are not correct, not true. So, and so you see, the verb is identical to the one to lie, meaning you say something that was not true. And even the ing form is identical to lie, meaning that something not true. The past simple is identical to the verb to lay, transitive. And when you use these three verbs and you listen to them, you non-native speaker need to practice a lot to understand when you're speaking to lay, to lie, or the other to lie. I hope I was clear. So help me God. So, Tara, did I say it right?
Yes, you said it correctly. Beautiful, beautiful.
Thank you. You're too generous. So again, you have three verbs which are very similar in many ways. Two are identical in the infinite form, okay, and in the ing form, lying and lying, okay, but they mean totally different things.
Yes,
This
correct.
means it's an intransitive verb, which means to be in a flat position, you know. So when you go to the hospital, the doctor will say, please lie down. It means giaci, okay? To lie can mean say something not true. You know, go to him and just lie to him. He doesn't deserve that you say the truth, just lie. So, and also the ing form lying, I'm lying down, or I am lying to you, same ing forms, lying and lying. But the verb to lie, meaning to stay in a horizontal position, has many similarities with the other verb to lay. First of all, they both mean to stay put, to put something. Lay is as a transitive, so you put something or a person to lay on the table. So say, I have the books, where shall I lay them? Lay them on the table. So lay the books on the table. There's an object because it's transitive. But these two verbs have other things in common. Okay, because the past simple is like the infinite form lay. So I lay down, when I went to the hospital, I lay down. Ho giaciuto sul tavolo. Okay, passato. I lay down. So it's identical to the verb to lay, which is transitive and in the infinite form. And thank God, laying is different from laid, and lying is identical to the verb to lie. Now, these verbs, you know, I'm sorry to bother you with this complexity, but it is extremely important that you understand this, because you find these three verbs all the time, right, Tara? I mean, native speakers use these verbs as, you know, as you say in Italian, the most common things like bere, mangiare, sedere, and, you know, have no doubts about it, no qualms about it. So they, because, you know, from when they were born, they use this verb so many times that now they have it right there somewhere in the brain. But for a non-native speaker, which is learning English, mastering these three verbs take a lot of practice and practice and practice, because you'll be always confused when you say lay or lie. And if it's lay or this lay. So you need to, and mind you, the first two verbs are irregular on top. The third verb is at least regular, lied, lie, lied, lied. The other two are even irregular. So you need to practice a lot. And for today, that's about it. Then the next lesson will be about, remember, OUG. Oh my God, that's difficult, Wow. And other silent letters, look at them, how many silent letters. This will be part of another story. Now, if you don't mind, I would like to speak now with, the most important thing of this conversation was meeting Tara. Okay, she's a special guest star. And as you can see, she's on top of everything else. She's a beautiful woman. She's very clever, very wise, has so many interesting things to say about her life, about what she does. I never end listening to her. She's a very special person, really. She was very near to me, by the way, during the plight, la sofferenza, my mother had and her death. And she was one of the closest person to me, although she is 9,000 kilometers. Mind you, we use kilometers here. 9,000 kilometers distant, as she's now. So with this introduction, I would like to begin the conversation with her about, she's a person who is very, very sensitive. She writes a famous blog in the internet. It's a pleasure to read it. It's a delight to read whatever. She's very wise. She's very experienced. Also because she had unusual experiences. She suffered a lot. And in particular, years ago, she underwent a terrible accident in which, to save a child from a fire, she burned herself entirely. She had nearly lost her entire arm, which had to be reconstructed with surgery, not surgery or surgery, in a very long therapeutical process. And the problem is not over now, after so many years, because she still needs to get special drugs, chemotherapy, to settle the problem. She has regularly chemotherapy to keep the problem down. And however, she managed to have, with some, I think, rehabilitation, to use the arm again. Now, I will let her speak about this, and what really impressed me is that she's happy of this experience because she saved a child. She saved a child's life. So she's happy about this, and I don't know how many people would have done it. So Tara, can you please say something more about it? I know it's painful for you.
Yes. Well, thank you for inviting me to this forum. And it's a great honor to be here with you and your friends, your society. So thank you. I guess I would like to start with, I was always a girl who had questions that the world could never answer. And that took me as a young person to travel to the ends of the earth. I lived on a Crow Indian reservation in Montana for 3 years. And then from there, I went to the country India. I was there for a year studying theology and philosophy and mysticism, basically looking for the meaning of life. And the day that Indira Gandhi, the prime minister, was assassinated, I was in Delhi and ended up in Bangkok in a panic. And then when I flew back to the United States, I found myself yearning to go south, and that's how I ended up in San Diego. But my studying continued for at least 9 years. At that time, there was a famous designer in the United States called Calvin Klein, and he hired me to be his executive coordinator, which was his creative muse for large multi-million-dollar events. It was wonderful. It was exhilarating. It was creative. And it was a very posh position to be in. And as after that 17 years, I became what they call, or what I called myself, a spiritual life coach. And I did that for the last 20 years, and pretty much to lead men and women to their self, to their own authenticity, to live their life with passion and in beauty, so that they could affect not only their own life, but the world. So that was my goal for the last 20 years. And I knew that it was time again to do something else. And I had, throughout the entire United States, led very large rituals, ceremonies, groups of people that I would speak at to inspire. And so I had created a retreat, and I chose to do it in Sicily. For women leaders of the world. It was exquisite, beautiful, elegant. It took 3 years, and everything that I had financially, emotionally, because at the time I was creating it, I still had a full clientele of clients that I was serving. And in the process of this, the retreat was to start in May. And in February, I was asked to care for a friend who just had surgery. And as I was doing so, I was warming soup for her, and the stove blew up. And what I was wearing was flammable. And I ended up with 4 and 5 degree burns, and all the way to the bone. So my arm was basically just bone. The reason that it kept burning and I could not put it out is because the garment that I was wearing was flammable. So that acted as a accelerant and would melt it into my skin. So water would make the flames go. Anything. I mean, I hit the floor. I tried everything I could that they say with fire how to put it out. But my main thing was to save my friend's life, and I had to run through her entire home to get to her bedroom. And the last thing that I remember saying was, "I'm sorry, I'm burning to death." And she saved my life. I lost consciousness at that point, and literally came out of her bed and laid her duvet, her comforter, and her body on me to put out the flames. So it seemed like such an auspicious thing that I finally had reached a point where, I was successful. I had everything that I could possibly ask for. My accolades were good, and the passion of what I so desired to do, and the dream that I put everything in, happened the way that it did. So when I woke up in a burn unit, I didn't quite understand. I never said, why did this happen to me? I kept asking, what is it I need to learn from this? And the day before the surgery, 7 surgeons came in and they said a preschool has caught on fire. And I would hear the screams. A burn unit is a very traumatic place to be in. And I was there for 2 months. But this was probably the second day, the day before my surgery. They asked if I would give my skin to the babies because they did not think I would live. And if the children get a living skin from a living human being, the chances of them surviving are much higher than skin from a cadaver. And these babies had lost limbs, and it was a very traumatic experience. So-
Sorry.
Mhm.
1 second. Let me say a few nouns that maybe they have possibly not understood. So, Tara, you know what? I think you understand the general. Excuse me, Tara. Once, please bear patience. So she said that she, in the first part of her life, she went to India. She was interested about this, other cultures. Then she was a creative designer for Calvin Klein. She was very successful. She mentioned the word accolades. Accolades means people who are ti fanno complimenti, people who are who are near you and which compliment you. Then she mentioned the word limb. Limb, it's L-I-M-B, limb in Italian. It means arto, okay, o pezzo di carne, pezzo di corpo. Means lost limb, vuol dire un arto mancante. So Tara, they might not understand some words. I'm sorry.
Okay. Oh no, that's fine. That's fine. So
go ahead now. Please go ahead.
okay. I won't go on much longer, but I think excuse me.
Go ahead.
Okay, so it was a very interesting process to go through because it rearranges a human being inside. It rearranges one who has gone through extreme trauma, and yet in a beautiful way, because being in a process of dying or on the ledge of life and death, something miraculous happens. And I believe that it broke me open. So being in that hospital for all that time, I had got a infection, and I checked myself out of the hospital because I chose that I didn't want to die in a hospital bed against the doctor's orders. And I came home and I lived. I healed. But only to be diagnosed with a disease that has a prognosis of 1 to 5 years. And I'm on my 6th year, so God has other plans for me. And that is also leading me back to Italy, which is a great inspiration and a place of beauty. For me, it is a gateway to the divine. So I would like to end it with what I have found is that my words, whatever I choose to write, whatever I choose to speak, wherever I go, wherever we all go, that if I can bring light into dark places and illuminate them, very similar to how the psychologist Carl Jung had said, until we bring the shadow side of ourselves into the light, we will continue to repeat patterns or continue to do things that are not productive and life affirming. And it reminds me of a beautiful doctor of the church. Her name was Hildegard of Bingham, and also a fine musician. She had a quote that was called, "Let me be a feather on the breath of God." And so that's just a little bit about me and where I'm at right now. It's difficult. I take numerous 24 medications a day. I have to have infusions. They know nothing of this disease. But I believe that if my body created it, it has a ancient memory that somewhere I will be cured. And if not, that I choose to live my life to the fullest. And that's how I met this fine gentleman, wanting to rent one of the lovely apartments there, which is a gift, because I never thought that I would be able to go back to a place that I love so dearly, which is Italy.
Thank you, Tara.
Thank you for letting me share. I'm honored that I was able to share a little bit about my journey. Is that all right for you, dear? Is that good?
Yeah.
Se,
Yes.
voi, se vedete, non so se avete visto il testo, c'è la chat, no? Se voi cliccate sul chat, no? Ho cercato a un certo punto un po' di tradurre certe espressioni che Tara ha detto, no? Va bene, quindi in modo che potete, forse non lo so, non le avete capite, quindi ho cercato di tradurlo un poco, no? Quindi, if you don't mind, Tara, I want to make sure that they understood what you just said.
Okay.
Lei ha detto, in sostanza, so you can, since you love Italy so much, you will hear some Italian. Lei ha detto in pratica che questa esperienza, lei era al massimo del successo dopo aver viaggiato il mondo, perché lei è molto curiosa di tante culture. She's unusual American, because generally Americans, when they travel, they are tourists.
No, I am no tourist. No.
She's an unusual American, because I know very well Americans, when they travel, they generally have a Rick Steves mindset. Rick Steves is an author, un autore of travel books. And generally, the American travel books are all about the most stereotypical monuments or views or sites. Sites in inglese vuol dire posti da vedere, sites, come il Colosseo, il Lago di Garda. So these are called sites, viste. It means places of interest. So generally, both English and especially American guidebooks are all about these beautiful sites. But in the end, when they visit a country, they just see the ABC of the tourist highlights, the Colosseum, Amalfi Coast, the Lake of Garda, Florence, Venice, Canal Grande, and all that, Pisa, the Leaning Tower, the David of Michelangelo, the Sistine Chapel. So in the end, they see objects. They generally see objects, as beautiful as they are, like Piazza Navona or Piazza della Signoria or whatever, Piazza San Marco, fountains, museums. So, but at the end, for them, Italy is only that. When they leave Italy, they know nothing real about Italy. They do not understand the fabric, la struttura, the fabric, false friends. It's not fabrica, that's a plant. Fabric means la struttura of our society, the social aspects, the political quagmire, il pantano della nostra politica, our psyche. psyche, la psicologia, the psyche of the Italians. And you
Yes,
know,
Scuse. I just sent you something that I wrote last night. It's very short, and I just sent it to you on your WhatsApp. And it does kind of explain like what it is for what it is for me. And exactly as what you're saying. Do you see it?
oh, I have so many things. One second, I have so many windows open.
Would you like me to read it real quickly?
Well, 1 second.
Okay.
Okay, if I have it here. True. Let me go on. Sorry, let me go. I found it. Where is it? Let me click on contatto. I did not receive it, as a matter of fact. Let me, what's up? It's updating. There you go. So let me leggi di più. Okay, so let me put it in live. Let me share screen. So 1 second. Share screen. There you go. Now you should be able to see it. Can you see it all?
Yeah, yes, I see it.
Tara, will
Yes,
you please?
Yes. So it's very similar to what he's saying, like what I see, what I feel, the essence. It is so different than a tourist. So anyway.
Yes, the Americans again see these sites, they go only for the stereotypes like the Sixtine Chapel, the Trevi Fountain, the Colosseum, Michelangelo's Pietà. They go to Capri, which they even pronounce differently. They call it Capri, not Capri. They go to all these places, Florence, the Uffizi. I mean, they never go out from this, path. And they go back to their country, having seen all this. They are only interested in the historical center of Rome. They think, for example, that San Giovanni Laterano, St. John Lateran, is a very peripheral quarter. They would never go to San John Lateran, maybe 2%. They hardly go even to Trastevere. Already Trastevere is far. So
I love Trastevere.
Yes, but they
and the Appian Way, the Appian.
It's already 10% might go there, but they do not never go, for example, to the Garbatella, to Ostiense.
A pretty district of Rome. District.
You see, Tara, Rome's current culture is not produced in the historical center where your place that you have rented is located. Maybe that is the only exception to the general rule, because she is renting a place by the Jewish quarter, in the ghetto. And that is the only place of Rome, the only quarter of Rome where you still have original Romans, the Roman Jews, and also the ones who are near to them, who did not leave the place because they feel that their roots are there. But this is an exception, because everywhere in the historical center, you hardly have Romans. They're just old people, rich people, very few. And actually, the culture of Rome is produced around the center in many areas called Garbatella, Ostiense, Testaccio, Appio Latino, Prenestino, Centocelle, and on and on and on. So these are the places where you have the contemporary Roman culture produced, and all the Italian movies are really shot and produced in these areas. And even the great artists and actors and come from these areas. Even our prime minister, the right-wing Giorgia Meloni, comes from Garbatella. So the Americans would never go there, never. They don't even know. For them, those are bad places. I mean, uninteresting places. just see the ABC all over Italy. They're all over Italy. They read this guidebooks, and the most famous of them all is the Rick Steves guidebook, and he even makes a program on TV, Rick Steves Italy. And so he goes on all these places and all these people. But however, Americans are not the only ones doing this. Also the Brits, the French, let alone the Japanese, they all go to the same places and they know hardly anything about Italy. Well, while Tara is different, she's interested about Roman culture. Wherever she went, even in India, she's more interested about what people actually feel and think. And
The
because
literature, the music, the history, the topography, the plants, everything. Yeah.
she will be in Rome in May for 3 weeks, by the way. So maybe if you want to meet her, or if she's pleased to meet you, maybe we can organize a sort of pizza somewhere else, you know, and eat that all.
Trastevere has some good pizza.
I doubt this. I don't
No? Okay.
personally.
We'll go to Naples.
I'm a purist of pizza. I think the Roman pizza is not pizza; it's a sandwich, or actually crispy.
Okay, well, whichever you would like. Either way, I'm always grateful and open.
You know,
No matter where in the world I go, and
well, here in Marino, we have a great pizzeria. You know, Massimo and Eleonora will tell you it's called Limoncello. And
I know exactly what limoncello is.
of course, but the restaurant is called Limoncello. They prepare either Neapolitan or Sicilian pizza. I think the Sicilian pizza is even better than Neapolitan. And Roman pizza, you know what? It's not a pizza. Americans love it, of course, but what can possibly Americans know about pizza? They should bring, if you can bring the Roman pizza to the US, and I would love to. If you would do this, I would be honored.
You know what I really, really adore is an ancient liqueur that was created in the 14th century. It's called Rizzolio, and it's made with Bulgarian rose petals. It's very difficult to find in Rome. I had one place order it for me, but it originated in Sicily. Have you heard of it?
No.
So, you know, like there's limoncello, this is Rizzolio, and it's roses.
I don't drink.
So beautiful.
I'm a teetotaler. I'm abstemious. I don't drink alcohol.
Okay.
No, zero. Don't smoke. Don't drink. You know, nada. Maybe.
Okay.
I will look for it. However, if I find that,
No need to. But limoncello is also alcoholic, correct?
Yes, and I don't drink. Yes. Do you?
Yes.
I mean,
no. Well, do I drink? Very, very little. I really don't care to drink. And especially now with the disease, the systemic mastocytosis, alcohol is definitely not good.
No,
Many
a good Italian pizza, the real one, will make wonders for
Okay. Well, I look forward to it. And yes, do you have any questions at all for me? Or are we good?
let boys and girls. Eleonora is a journalist, by the way. So let me introduce you. Paolo
Yes,
is is an archaeologist and
fascinating. I would have loved to went that route.
Vice president of our branch here of Marino. You see, Italia Nostra Marino means we are the branch of Marino. And Leonora,
Yes.
has at least as a hobby, she writes for an e-zine about a part of Marino, which is called Santa Maria delle Mole, Our Lady of the Mole, of the Mill, I think. There was a mill. And she writes for a blog. She's the most active journalist for this blog, and I read her articles. That's how online. I don't know what Massimo, what do you do in your life, Massimo?
Yes,
What,
I'm
what
a technician of Italia, a company,
so
a company.
can you say this again?
I'm a technician of Itairways. Itairways is a company, is an avionic company.
It's an airline.
Yes, it's a line.
Airline.
Before I worked for Alitalia.
Yes.
Huh?
Yes, and now I work for Itairways.
And what do
It's
you
a
do?
new company. It's a new company.
And what do you do in this new company, airline?
I work in safety. In fly. I'm in charge of flight data monitoring. It's I read the data from airplane, from like black box, from some other parts of our plane, and I check the all the data, and only for safety. Okay, I know it's difficult to
Important profession. We are in your hands basically when we fly. So thank you. Thank you for this.
Thank you. Yes. Well, thank everyone for what you do. Yes, it's wonderful.
Yes, it's for me it's more important because it's a very interesting. So it's a beautiful work.
Yes, you must be very clear in your cognitive mind, you know. Yes, it's very nice.
Because the life of people depend on what you do. So don't drink limoncello, please.
No, it's
Oh,
important. Don't drink
stay
alcohol.
clear.
Don't smoke, don't drink limoncello, and possibly don't eat even corpse of animals, be vegetarian. So you go the safe way. So
Okay.
Tara, I want to know something about, so in your blog, she has a blog on Facebook, actually I noticed that you write about spiritual matters as well,
Oh, yes.
It seems that you have a sort of cosmic relationship, it reminds me of for some reason, I might be wrong, have the impression that you have a relationship with nature as the Native Americans had, the so-called Indians.
Very similar. Yes. It's very sacred.
Very sacred relationship with nature, a very spiritual relationship with nature, and the wisdom it all gives us, it seems to me.
Yes.
Am I right? Can you say something more about this?
Well, I think early on, I was a question was asked of me, what did I trust? Did I trust anything? And I said, well, I trust that the sun will rise and the sun will set. And I trust that that spring follows winter. These things are from my own experience. It's not because I've read them. It's not because somebody told me so. It's not because there's an equation that makes sense. For me, it was very much a truth that was in my cellular DNA. And so that knowing that we're all connected to all of the elements and everything on the earth. And when I lived with the American Indians in Montana, what a blessing, and all is sacred. So that that was a start for me, and then being able to weave that through all other wisdom traditions, not just your, ancient indigenous. Here, the American Indians, we've been on this, they had been on this continent for 35,000 years. So yes, there's a great wisdom in that. Yes. Nature is beautiful. It's divine. And it's not separate from my perception. It is not separate from us. We are, we belong to the earth. The earth does not belong to us. Yeah, that's how I see it.
True. Although, if I might add, since my mother died, I happen to feel, this is an Italian saying, the feet disappearing under my feet, my own feet. I think I lost connection with Mother Earth, which I had a similar, actually more enthusiastic relationship than yours. I mean, now I feel that, I'm not saying that I do not have any more of this. I'm not against it or whatever. It seems that I don't have it anymore. It seems I lost connection, and I have a more rational relationship and somewhat not interesting.
Well, but the thing is that wholeness, to be inclusive, to be congruent. I think that if we are too cerebral, even the gentleman that does the work on the airplanes, that sense of being grounded, that no one can ever rob you of your roots. No one can ever cut those from you. That it's in your DNA. It's impossible. And so, but it's natural to feel that disconnection when we have lost our parents, the generation, the ancestors before, but you are the testament and the majestic being that holds all of it within you. She is within you. She is within everything. So
that, when my father died, just if I can say something, when my father died, he died in Paris, and it was a very bright day, and he died the day before my birthday. So when he actually died, it was my birthday. When we celebrated his death, celebrated when we began mourning his death. He died in the American Hospital of Paris, one of the most chic places in Europe. Considered the best private clinic in all of Europe. And Paris was very sunny, and I could see the sky black. The song of the Rolling Stones, Painted Black? Exactly that way. I see, what were the lyrics of the song? I see a line of cars and I see them painted black. I see the sun, the colors of the sun, and I see it painted black. Exactly. I was seeing everything black. Then when my mother died, though, I felt that I lost connection with Mother Earth. They're totally different. These are archetypical.
Archetypes, yes, but you can reconnect with it. It has not disconnected from you as much as us disconnect. It's always there. It's always there.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I noticed that what actually was happening when Mother was alive, that she was bringing this in me, you see, with her grace, with her qualities, human qualities, with her spirituality, of which, I think I remember Paolo, my the, the tribute at that church. She had all this
Yes,
human qualities.
I went there.
Yes, she was very talented. She had incredible spiritual qualities, and she was always joyful. I mean, when she was good and she could, she did a lot of charity, and that made her happy. She was
Yes, it does me too. Yes. Our
the,
lives are not about us.
my
By any
mind.
means.
I always had this presence surrounding me of how beautiful life and the world can be. This person brought everything and all this to me. And now that she's gone, I realize that the world outside is not that joyful. It's actually very crude and very, what can I say, very narrow-minded in some way, very gray. But exactly as you're saying, I realize that the only solution to my plight is that all these teachings are now part of me, and my only solution to go ahead is to deliver them to the next generations. That, I need to go further, one step further, and then, my mother loved everyone, and I do too. But I feel now that I'm perhaps wasting a lot of time with people that don't deserve this time. Well, I would like to do something that makes sense along that direction, because we don't live forever. And
It's about the experience, trauma, grief. It rearranges us. And so when we get on the other side of it or have gone through something, we are different. And no, there will be people that will not understand your language, even if they speak the same language.
Yes, it's true.
well, this experience taught me, Tara, if I might say so, that, before I was really interested in numberless topics, subjects, ideas, the more the better. I learned from so many things. I listened, studied, and now I understand that I need to have a direction, and that incredibly, my mother, with her spirituality things, she gave me a practical direction, to say it in a British way, meaning that I must find a way to implement, to make this culture not anymore like, God-given to me. So,
Go to the heart. Go to the heart. It's
Yes.
not in the mind. Your mother gave that. Go to your heart. And as you go into the heart, you can embody, that essence, and then you're able to like ground that and to connect with nature. It is extremely healing, and that feeling, it's a flat feeling, but as you start to bring everything back into your heart and like embody, there's an effervescence, and there'll be a sweet joy, but it's a process.
I think that my
Gentle.
soul has that sweet joy when I will be able to create a world around me, whether my family or friends or whatever, which deals with these values and these ideals, these qualities. And, so in other words, I'm sick and tired to have these values in my family and deal with people who do not have these values or everything, because, I don't live endlessly. I would like to create a world of that type. A few people, like my mother, were able in a most spontaneous way to create around them to make people change and be.
What she had, what that is she was that. We embody that.
Yes,
It's us. The change happens not outside to inside, it's inside to outside.
exactly.
It's like as within, so without.
Yes,
And
power to
yeah,
make.
and there's a law of physics about that too.
Okay, but the point is that most people like to receive this passively within them. I mean, they like other people to be that way, but in their life, they're just very materialistic, rational, opportunistic some. And in Italy, we have many smart Alex or smart asses, as mentioned to you. Now, these are two words you need to know, my dear friends, what does smart Alec is British, smart ass is American, and the translation is the Roman word para culo. Okay, so you say in British English, you say Alec is a donkey, so you say un asino intelligente. Si crede intelligente, ma è solo un asino. And I'm sorry for my friends, the donkeys, which were who they are very clever and very kind, tactful creatures, and for some reason they're considered stupid, and they're not. So we say smart Alec. He's a smart Alec. He thinks intelligent.
Or smart ass.
That's American. The Americans, if I may say, Tara, in a more vulgar way, trigger way.
Oh, yes, I'm sure. Not as well mannered at all.
Yes,
100%. I agree with you there.
Smart ass, it means similar to Romans, it means culo intelligente, sì, va bene, culo furbo, nel senso credono di essere furbi ma associano la faccia come quella cosa là, va bene. Smart ass, americano, smart Alec, britannico. So you have, you have so many smart Alecs in our societies, people who just go after practical advantages and who never thought about all these values. I mean, okay, I understand. Rome is a very crowded town. It's not a wealthy town. We don't even have public transport like London or Paris. So we restlessly have a daily rat race. This is a typical American expression. The daily rat race, meaning it means la corsa dei topi giornaliera, che vuol dire affannarsi di qua, di là, sinistra, destra, no? The daily ratto race, corsa. So we all have a daily rat race, and we are all
No, we aren't. No, we're not all like that.
Most in a large town like Rome, most people are like that. They drive restlessly from place A to place B, C.
That's very sad. I think that's sad for them.
Most Romans live this way. I mean, they have either a due, they have to pay a tax or go to some place. For some reason, they have to work.
Right.
Or they seek an advantage, so they go to a place and the next place, and their horizon,
Right.
all this, their life is all that. They do nothing different. And when they go back home, they turn on TV, and what do? They football, the sport the Americans call soccer calcio. So that's a typical Roman life. Every day they have the rat race, la corsa di qua, di là, di su, s'affannano for work for some reason. They have to bring kids to the gym.
Well, maybe they're uneducated, and maybe they haven't had the opportunity or the privilege to
No, life here, as a matter of fact, it's part of the reality. That's how you live here to survive. Because you know, maybe Massimo works at Fiumicino, so he goes from our. I mean, do you live in Marino, Massimo? Massimo.
Santa Maria delle Mole.
So he lives in our borough here called Santa Maria delle Mole. It's a, I mean, we
Near
are.
Marino.
I mean, within Marino, the town you met in background. So what you see in the background there, that is the upper part of the town. We call it Marino Centro. It's the ancient town uphill, but we are downhill and we have many little centers. I am in Frattocchie, and Massimo is in Santa Maria della Mole.
And I live in Rome.
And then while
in
Paolo-
Rome.
Yeah, near St. John.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes, he lives
Um,
near a famous place along the Appian Way called the Alberone.
At the
Oh, I would
beginning
love
of the
that.
Appian
I
Way.
would love that.
Yes, you know,
The Appian is one of my favorite places to go
he's an
with
expert.
my own picnic and write, you know, just spend all day. It's
Expert.
beautiful.
He writes publications and he published articles, essays, scientific articles, and on top he's also a tourist guide. He guides people there. So along the Appian Way, he knows
Very lovely.
about it, you know, everything about it, you know. And
They have
but-
a lovely restaurant there that I like
Yes,
very much. Yes.
we got a lot of fine restaurants.
Yes, I visit it every time that I'm there, and it's lovely in the garden.
what's
Um,
Quo Vadis?
it's Antico. I have
I know in the Appian Way when you turn to go to the Appian
Where-
Way.
right. It's got the big tower like ruin, and they have it's beautiful. Paolo is the owner or the son, the sons. Yes.
See, they're expensive.
One moment. Excuse me. Let me.
So it's about time we end this lesson, and the next lesson, since she's gone for a minute, let me share the screen about what the next lesson will be, because I have more. Unfortunately, if you want, of course, you know, if you want to learn advanced English, you know, if you want to stay in a low initial English.
Excuse me. I took this off my wall. I adored. Can you see this? I adored the restaurant so much. I don't know if you can see
Yeah.
it. So anyway, it's the host.
I cannot see it. I'm sorry.
Focus.
Yes,
it's a Tomba di Cecilia Metella, but it's not on.
Hosta Tarara Antica Roma. And Massimo, the old man, is the owner, but it's been his family forever.
I know this restaurant is along the 3rd mile of Appian Way.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Yes. And he has a dining room, a formal dining room. If you know, for evening when I've had dinner, all the way like in the back of the property, which is very lovely. And then, but I actually prefer afternoons in the garden. Yes. Oh, so lovely. Yes. And anyway, that is one place that whenever I'm in Rome, I really like to spend, you know, quality time.
Tara, is it a place? Can you watch the screen? Is this a place?
It looks like it.
Is this a place? Oops.
Here, I will, let me take a picture here.
I know the place. I think, Paolo, it's within the Appia Antica when you have to turn left to go
Yes,
to Appia Pignatelli, right?
Before Appia Pignatelli.
Yes, I mean, it's right on the corner. And they have a piano, you know, they have a piano also there, somebody playing.
Yes,
The-
yes.
The place is besides the catacombs of San Callisto.
Yes, yes.
Mhm.
It must be awful.
Sebastian, you pass. Yes, yes.
It must be very expensive though, probably.
You know, usually when I'm in Rome, I do a lot of my own cooking. I always get a place with a kitchen. And but I will treat myself to something that I enjoy. And I enjoy that much more than I do sitting in front of the Pantheon. You know what I mean? It's like so yes, and I
had
enjoy it.
tried some other places.
I sent you the I sent on your WhatsApp, Mara, the name of it. Yeah. So this was actually one of the menus.
Yes.
And the old man, he's precious. Oh my gosh, what a doll. I just love him. I wanted to take him home with me. He was so loving. I had him sign it, and then I actually got a beautiful gold gilded frame and had it matted. Even though it's not actually a fine piece of art, it is to me. I dream, you know, I can transport myself back anytime.
You know what? I think you love Romans more than they deserve, in my opinion. You know.
Well, it's the history, and you know, it's everything. I think it's the energy, it's the history, I mean, I love all people.
Yeah, I know.
I love. And so
You know why? Because
whether one is Roman, Lebanese, African, I love, and I love culture, and it's beautiful. You know, it's beautiful. It helps us to, you know, open our mind.
You're a wonderful person, so you can only see the good things in anyone, and you're admirable. Really, I admire you a lot. Because,
Well,
you know,
I'm very far from
my
perfect.
mother was like you. I never heard her utter, uttr, utter. It means dire.
Mhm.
One bad thing about anyone in her entire life.
No, it feels terrible. I don't want to do that either. I don't like it. I think if we all had eyes to really.
She was very superior to this, you know. And she always never said one word to praise herself. Never.
Right. Well, that's humility. Humility in my world is
humble, but not.
whoops.
She didn't live following humility per se, but she was.
She was humble.
Yes, she was herself. She didn't. She was secure. She loved everyone, and so good, proud of everyone, and everybody loved her. And you know what?
She was authentic. She was authentic. It's like we have nothing. I have nothing to prove. What you see is what you get. You know, whether I am sick or healthy. Now, you know, I whether I was rich or poor. What does it matter? It matters nothing. That has nothing to do with the, you know, with the essence.
You belong to a different planet.
I know. Anyway, I want to thank you so much, and your lovely colleagues, your the people that I've had the joy and honor, you know, speaking to. I do have actually, this man is 89 years old, coming to my home to visit me. And he used to be a Broadway actor, an actor on Broadway. And he's a fascinating man. And he has come to San Diego to comfort a woman that has just been widowed. And he asked if he could stop by for tea. and I don't want to be disrespectful and not be ready for him. And
Also for us to leave you, and we thank you for all your kindness. Thank you for staying with us and for sharing all your ideas, your values, and you make us optimistic about life and humans. Presently, under the circumstances, I'm not. And it's good to know that there are people like you. And it is especially good to know that you will be in Rome not too far away.
May.
So you're
May, I believe May 5th or 4th, May.
6th. I don't know.
6th. No, I don't know. I have to look. I take one day at a time. As soon as the calendar switches to May, I will get excited and start packing. I learned from the fire to not plan, like to try to be present with every day. Yeah. So I can't wait. I'm very excited. Yes, just to be back in Italy. So,
Pleasure.
and your audience and you lovely people, thank you.
Whether you like it or not, you'll have to meet me at least. I'm sorry.
Oh my God. Okay. Of course, it would be my pleasure. I'm honored. Thank you all so much. And I guess it's evening there. Have a lovely evening.
Yes, it's actually night here, but getting night. It's
Okay. And I will get ready for my guest. And
thanks for everything, your wisdom, the joy that you brought to us, the American pronunciation revision or confirmation, and be aware of that Rothic R. Beware of that Rothic R. No, the car,
I shall be.
the porter, and have a pleasant day. And it's always a pleasure, really, having to speak with you or knowing you. It's one of the greatest gifts I had this year, one of the very few, honestly, and I can't wait to meet you in person. Although I feel that I know.
Oh, I know. I definitely think that is a gift from God. Your mother is instrumental in it. Of course, my compassionate heart, your mother was ill, she's sick, and then there you go. That's the connection. So anyway, take very good care and have a lovely evening.
Thank you.
Right.
Have a good day.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
So, boys, here we are. I was saying before you go away, the troubled water. If you can see this, can you share the screen? Let me see, share screen. So let me give you a glimpse, meaning una vista rapida, glimpse, uno scorcio, glimpse. It's written glimpse, G-L-I-M-P-S-E, glimpse vuol dire uno scorcio, una rapida veduta of what should be the next lesson. And let me explain to you why I'm bringing you over these troubled waters. Do you know the song Bridge Over Troubled Waters by Simon and Garfunkel? Remember, the bridge over troubled waters. I'm leading you through these complicated words because English has an immense vocabulary, immense. And if you do not master at least a part, I don't think you will ever speak English at all. And you need to know the words and you need to know how to pronounce them. And you need to practice. Remember, practice, know the words, listen, check the in your smartphone, the pronunciation, and that site, Oxford, You have it in your phones too. It's in the internet, so you can check the spelling, the pronunciation, and as you're there, you can check also the ramification of that word. You know, similar words, words in it, near it, the meaning, so many things, how it is used. A word can have many meanings. You know, every word can have many meanings. Like simbolo, every word has many meanings, most words. And so you need to have implement your vocabulary, pronounce, speak, listen, and you need to increase your vocabulary, the sheer number of words you know. You need to increase the number of words you know and that you know how to pronounce. This will make you finally feel at ease, a proprio agio con questa lingua. And beginning from this base, questa base, you can further learn more things. Like, for example, we can speak of modal verbs, tenses, many more things, but you need to learn the foundations, the fondamenta of the vocabulary and the pronunciation. So what the next step would be these two chapters. First, the OUGH, you know, which can have a total different pronunciation. So OUGF, so you pronounce it rough, which means tough, you know, enough, tough, like tough. Plow, so the same combination. Plow or is aratro, plow. Through, you know, like true, which means attraverso. Thorough, which means completo. Through, which said bene in Italian. Hiccup or hiccup, it means singhiozzo. Cuff, tosse. Thought, pensiero. Sloth. And so it's pronounced or slew. So it's slew, not it can also be sloth. In this case, it's slew. And then loch, which is the word for a lake in Scotland. So, for example, a sentence with all these 10 different pronunciation is: the wind was rough along the loch as the plowman fought through the slow and snow, and though he hiccuped and coughed, he thought only of his work, determined to be thorough. So you see, the OUGH can be pronounced in so many different ways. And you need to learn this because, you know, you find it in every day. Like, remember to lie, lay. You find it all the time. Then we will speak about the silent letters. This is a typical, I would say, nearly exclusive feature of English. Silent letters, you know, silent A, silent B, silent C, silent D, for example, Wednesday, handsome, sandwich, you know, so many words that you need to pronounce well, because otherwise, when you speak with English, you will seem funny to them. They will understand you, but they will also understand that your level of English is low, and they will not like to, you know, to develop the relationship with you, because even they know that you have limitations. And then we'll go along this way, the modal verbs, the nouns, verbs and nouns pronounced differently. For example, you say contrast, contrasto, but the verb is to contrast. Okay, so the protest in protesta, to protest, is the verb. So we'll go this, and the modal verbs can, you know, ought to, would, and so these are the following things you need to know. once we'll finish with this, you will have you know, the foundations of the English pronunciation and of the words, which generally speaking are difficult to pronounce for all English-speaking people. Sometimes even natives make a mess of this. And so if you're interested, we can make it. When do you think we can make this other lesson? Because, you know, then I need to do other things.